And we are back. College football week number 2. Predictions for every single game this week between FBS schools. Yesterday, a positive week for us in week number 1. We're still waiting on the North Carolina game versus Texas Christian. That's tonight, but I thought I'd get these week 2 predictions out. It doesn't really interfere with any of our predictions for this week. We do have UNC playing Charlotte in week number 2, but my prediction doesn't really matter. Like, the game tonight doesn't really change my opinion on Charlotte, North Carolina. I'll get to that later in the video. But a positive week for us. Some huge underdogs coming through for us. Shout out to the Louisiana State Tigers. Shout out to the Miami Hurricanes and Carson Beck. We had a good week. Let's have an even better week here in week number 2. And I say it all the time, too. We get better as the season goes on because we get to watch these teams now on a weekly basis. Now, before we get into the video, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more weekly college football predictions here on the channel. Later in the week, probably on Friday, most definitely on Friday, we're going to have our best bets for college football week number 2. And tomorrow, we are going to have our NFL week 1 predictions. So make sure to stay tuned for the channel for that, or on the channel for that. Daily MLB best bets on the channel as well, along with our UFC predictions weekly on Greedo Plays MMA. That is linked in the description down below. This week, UFC Paris Nasruddin Imavov takes on the Fighting Nerds zone Caio Borrajo in the middleweight division. Make sure to check out that video. That is linked in the description down below. Again, subscribe to Greedo Plays MMA. Subscribe to this channel, and let's lock in. Don't know how long this video is going to be. Probably around 3 hours, because we have even more college football this week than we did last week. Let's go. The first of our many games this week for college football. I believe there are 53 games I'm going over this week, not including the FCS games. Let's go. Here is the first graphic of the day. Let's go. All right. Starting things off with our first game on Friday. Only 2 FBS versus FBS games on Friday. The first of which is James Madison on the road at Louisville. I am going to be going with James Madison on the points here, plus 14.5 for the Dukes. JMU coming off a 45-10 victory at home against Weber State. I like Alonzo Barnett a lot. I do. I think Alonzo Barnett is really talented. He is the starter over Matthew Sluka, which is a loaded quarterback room. Both those guys kind of do the same thing. I would say Sluka is definitely a better runner, and Barnett's definitely a better passer of the football. But they got both those guys in that quarterback room. I still don't know why Sluka went here. Obviously, the starter at Las Vegas last year, UNLV, had to transfer because he wasn't given the money he was promised. That's what I heard. I don't know. He's now backing up Barnett at JMU. There were spots all around, I would think, in the G5 where Sluka could have started. He comes here, he tries to challenge Barnett for his job, and it doesn't go his way. Barnett, the junior, wins out the job and had a good week 1 against Weber State. Again, an uneventful game because JMU just put belt on that game. But George Pettaway, obviously a very good running back for this team, had 100 yards rushing. They're taking on Louisville, and this is why I think JMU is going to be able to cover. Okay, guys, JMU runs the ball quite a bit. They run the ball quite a bit. They've got Pettaway, they've got another back in Wayne Knight who can run. Obviously, Barnett is a very active rusher as well. Pass game isn't as good as their run game, but it's a team that's going to run the ball. They're going to shorten the game. Louisville is a team, again, who is probably, kind of wants to do the opposite. They want to throw, but for the most part, they want to throw. Miller Moss did not have a good week 1. Okay, and this is going to get lost in a lot of, week 1 discussion because nobody was, just to be honest, unless you live in Louisville, Kentucky, or you're a Louisville fan, you're probably not watching Louisville play Eastern Kentucky. Miller Moss, not a horrible game, at least from a completion standpoint. He threw 2 picks against an FCS school, and not a great FCS school in the kernels of Eastern Kentucky. 220 passing yards, all right, but don't love the game. I don't. Isaac Brown had 2 very long rushing touchdowns for Louisville, or 2 very long rushing drives for this team. Only had 6 carries for 2 touchdowns, had a 31-yard touchdown and a 68-yard touchdown. But my point being, they didn't win this game because of Miller Moss. They won this game because of the run game. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown in the second quarter. That's not the reason they won. I'm going to take JMU to cover here. We are getting 14.5 points on a Friday night for JMU to go into Louisville. Again, Louisville beats Eastern Kentucky 51-17. That's great. I'm going to take JMU to go in here and cover. I believe quite a bit in James Madison out of the Sun Belt. It's a good team. Obviously, they got stripped of a lot of their talent when Kurt Cignetti went to Indiana. A lot of guys followed him there. They're still a decent program. I'm taking JMU to cover here on the road. 14.5 points, I believe they can, against the Louisville Cardinals. Let's move on now to our other game on Friday as NIU, the Northern Illinois Huskies, go on the road to take on the Maryland Terrapins. I am going to be going with Maryland minus 16.5 here. I'm kind of surprised at Maryland's result last week. I'll give them credit, right? I didn't think they were going to blow out FAU like that. I thought more highly of FAU than they actually appeared. Caden Vetkamp did not have a good game. Zach Gibson, the backup quarterback, comes in later in the game, and he throws 2 interceptions on top of Vetkamp's 4. So Maryland forced 6 interceptions last game. That's tremendous for their defense. Malik Washington played a really good football game against the Owls. 260 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. It was a good game. They were really able to establish that pass game for Maryland. And now you welcome in Northern Illinois, a team who struggled last week against Holy Cross. Now, Matthew Sluka should go back to Holy Cross. Obviously, it's a senior year. You can't do that anymore, but should have done that. Holy Cross started a former Illinois product in Cal Swanson. Anyways, NIU was bad last week. They ran the ball to hell, and they gave the ball to Telly Johnson 21 times. He turned that into 67 yards. Okay, the line wasn't great. Siobhan Wright ran the ball 11 times, 77 yards. My point being with all this, NIU beat the Holy Cross Crusaders by 2 points. That game at halftime was 6-3 NIU. 14 points were scored by Holy Cross in the fourth quarter. 13 were scored by Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois wins the football game. Was it in doubt? Not really. Well, Holy Cross scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Then NIU scored back-to-back tutties. And then Holy Cross scored a late touchdown on a kickoff return. Ultimately, right, NIU wins the football game. If you're doing that, though, at home, I cannot expect you to hang with the Big Ten team. Okay, I didn't think Maryland was going to be able to beat FAU by that many points. I certainly did not. Not at all. They should easily take care of Northern Illinois this time, though, right? 16.5 points, is it? Yes, 16.5 points. That's not a lot for a Big Ten school against Northern Illinois, who struggled last week against an FCS school. I get it. Holy Cross, again, a program that's been really good at the FCS level. They played, who was at Boston College, a really tough game, I think 2 years ago at Sluka. Regardless, I'm taking Maryland here. Winning by 32 points last week against FAU. If you match FAU and Northern Illinois against each other, very competitive game, right? Very competitive game. And forcing 6 turnovers, especially all 6 being interceptions, is big time. I'm taking the Maryland Terrapins to win this game at home. Again, minus 16.5 points. I believe they can cover that against the Northern Illinois Huskies, who are just not the same team that they were last season, obviously, when they upset Notre Dame. We'll get to Notre Dame next week, because they play this week, don't they? Yes, they do play this week. We'll get to Notre Dame later. Anyways, on to, I believe they do. Do they? I mean, I'm saying this like I made the graphics, and we'll get to them later. Next week, I think, regardless. We move on to our next game. I think there's a lot of games for me to remember. I'm fairly confident Notre Dame does not play. Okay, on to our first game of Saturday. Yeah, they don't play this week, okay. San Jose State versus Texas. This game's hilarious. Hear me out. Taking San Jose State plus 35.5. I actually think this is the perfect buy low spot for San Jose State. I know what you're thinking. What? We're buying low on a team that just lost at home to Central Michigan? Oh, we are. We are. San Jose State should have beat Central Michigan. They could not move the ball at all in the first half. CMU gets out to a 13-0 lead. Eventually, Walker kind of gets his guys back into it. They take a 14-13 lead in the third quarter. Ultimately, Central Michigan kicks a field goal with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And San Jose State gets 2 opportunities to win the football game. They get a 30-yard field goal with about a minute left. Walker takes them downfield. They get, again, a 30-yard field goal. You can win the game. You're up by 1. CMU's got no timeouts. They whiff it. He boots it left, pulls it. Game over, you think. Well, no, SJSU actually still has all 3 timeouts. They force a stop. They get a 3 and out. They get the ball back from about the 40-yard line. They get into field goal range. They get a 50-yard field goal to win it. And then I know, again, tough for a college kicker to hit. But he gets a 30-yard field goal and a 50-yard field goal. He misses both. So San Jose State, a team that I thought, after watching Boise lose to USF, and after watching Fresno lose to Kansas in week number 1, and watching UNLV be very competitive against Sam Houston, I thought, okay, this is a team that's actually in a prime position to potentially win the Mountain West this season. Was I wrong? And I think we need to have the discussion. The Mountain West isn't good this year. Who's the best team in the Mountain West? It's probably still Boise. But think about all these teams. They get stripped of their talent. New Mexico, talent's gone. Their quarterback's at Utah. He's going to lead them to the playoffs this season. Boise obviously loses some of their talent to the NFL. Ashton Genty, you still have Madsen as your quarterback, but he did not look good playing in Tampa, right? Well, UNLV, yeah, they're 2-0, but do we really expect UNLV to go all that far? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not as high on that team as I have been in years past, like last year with Hodge Malik Williams and Matthew Sluka at the helm. What, Utah State with Bryson Barnes? We're not expecting that team to go very far. Wyoming looked good on the road against Akron, but it's Akron, and they still only scored 10 points to win the game 10-0, right? Just Hawaii, sure, they beat Stanford, but then they go to Arizona and they get destroyed. Fresno looks all right against Georgia Southern. My point being with all this, Colorado State loses, and it's kind of competitive until it's not against UW. My point is the Mountain West isn't good this season, at least for now. Maybe that changes. I think San Jose State covers 35, though. 35.5, they can lose by 5 touchdowns and they'll still cover. Texas will probably be much better this week. I'll be surprised if they're not. I mean, come on now. They lose at the Shoe. Got that one wrong. It happens. I think we bought a little too much in Arch Manning, but I don't think so. Like, I still think Arch Manning's really effective. I think he's really good. I think he just ran into one of the best defenses in college football. They score 7 points at Ohio State. They had a chance at the end of the game. They had a drive. You know, they could have won that football game. The point I was making during the week, why I thought Texas was going to win, I thought the quarterback play for Texas was better. Now, it wasn't, but it's not like Julian Sand played a good football game. Neither of them played a good football game, okay? And we will get to Ohio State. That's not a team that I think is very good. They're not a team that I think wins the Big Ten. Yes, they will lose to Michigan at the end of the season again, regardless of how bad Michigan potentially is or is not. We won't talk about them this week because they played Grambling, but we'll talk about them when they play the Ohio Bobcats in 2 weeks, okay? I'm just not sold on Ohio State. Nor am I sold on Texas. Arch looks like crap. He'll look better against SJSU, do not get me wrong. Wisner, I'm assuming, going to still have a great game on the ground. San Jose can score. Like, I know they scored 14 points against Central Michigan at home. Yes. They can surprisingly put points on you. Like, just trust me with this one, okay? I'm going to take San Jose State plus 35.5. Walker getting the offense, I think, can be all right. Obviously, you lose Nick Nash and whatnot. Floyd Chalk's still there, and they got the ball a lot to Scudero, Danny Scudero, who had 9 catches for 189 yards. Again, still threw for 308 yards. They just couldn't punch it in at all. Again, I feel like they gotta do something here at Texas. I think they score 14 points, okay? Which, if you're doing the math, right? You score 14 points. Texas needs to score more than, they need to have 50. I don't think they score 50. It's an adjustment period right now. Arch looked like crap in the first game. I think, again, there is the difference between this year's Arch Manning and last year's Arch Manning is when, you know, Arch got to play against UL Monroe and got to play Mississippi State. There's no expectation. Like, regardless, they were going to go with Quinn Ewers to end the season. You're the guy now. You're at home for the first time, taking an SJSU team that has nothing to lose. I don't know. I'm going San Jose State plus 35.5. Would I bet it? Probably not. There's better games to bet on, and a lot of better games at the 9 o'clock hour. But I'm taking SJSU on the points, plus 35.5. Next up, we go to whatever the hell this is. Penn State versus Florida International. So Penn State doesn't cover last week because they gave up a touchdown to Nevada with 20 seconds left. Thanks, guys. It's awesome. Chuba Purdy, yep, brother of Brock, comes in at the end of the game and scores one for the Wolfpack. That's awesome. No, actually, it was AJ Bianco. Yeah, Purdy got sat. Whatever, dude. Penn State should beat, they will beat FIU. Will they cover against FIU? I don't think so, actually. Okay, FIU's getting 41.5 points? I like Keon Jenkins a lot. Jenkins is solid. I mean, I watched him play, albeit against Bethune-Cookman. Okay, he looked good in that game, right? And FIU beats Bethune-Cookman 42-9. I can only imagine what Miami's going to do to Bethune-Cookman this week. It's just going to be one of those games where Carson Beck's obviously padding on to his Heisman stats this year. Keon Jenkins plays all right against Bethune-Cookman, though. Okay, he does the job for them. That's the simplest way I can put it. He does the job. He is a facilitator of that offense. Is FIU going to make noise in the CUSA? Probably not. Even though the CUSA is not very good. I think Western Kentucky is still the best team in that conference. I think Jack State's going to make some noise. We'll talk about them in a little bit. I think FIU actually kind of hangs in this game. When I mean hangs, I think they hold Penn State to a 35-point lead. Like, I think, right? Penn State, right? They scored 46 points last week. So, again, I think Penn State's good. You know, you lose Tyler Warren, obviously. You still got an amazing backfield, obviously, with Singleton and Allen. Drew Aller is an elite quarterback in college football. I understand that. Penn State last year had trouble scoring the football at times. They did. And you lose your best weapon offensively, obviously. My point being with all this, you score 46 points against Nevada. That's great, okay? But you're 41.5-point favorites against FIU. You score 46 points again. All FIU's got to do is score one touchdown and they cover. I think FIU can score 1 touchdown at Happy Valley. I think 1 touchdown is all I ask. It's just obviously these lines are tough to predict because, you can have games like Nevada, Penn State last week where Penn State's dominating the game. They are in control of the spread, at least you think they are, until Nevada scores their 8 points in the fourth quarter on their final drive to cover the spread. Okay, I wouldn't bet this personally, but if I had to pick a side, which we do for every single game, yeah, I'm going to take FIU, the Florida International Panthers from Miami, to come into Pennsylvania and cover 41.5 points. Obviously, the Nittany Lions, the second best team in the country, will win the football game, but I'm going to go with FIU to cover. And yes, the second best team in the country because Ohio State will jump Texas and they will be the number 1 school in the country. Okay, give me Penn State plus 41.5. FIU plus 41.5 at Penn State. There are some games we are skipping. If you want to see those games, again, I'll just say one of them right now. Illinois-Duke. That's one of my games of the week. That's at the very end of the video. So we'll skip that for now. We will come back to it later. Instead, let's go to Bloomington, Indiana. The Hoosiers. Yeah. All right, Indiana. I won't do the chant. I'm taking Indiana to cover 34.5 against Kennesaw State. I know last week was disappointing. It was. Okay, it was severely disappointing. They only win by 13 points against ODU. Old Dominion's got the kickoff return to start the game. Colton Joseph played a good game, I thought, for the Monarchs. They score a garbage time touchdown, sure, to cut the lead from 27 to make the lead only 13 when it was 20. Taking Indiana and the Bison, obviously, right? They brought back the Bison mascot this year, I think, right? I don't know. I'm not on campus anymore, obviously. I'm taking Indiana to cover 34.5 points. Last week, it's okay. They didn't really blow out ODU. It's fine. They didn't cover, sure. Okay. Their running back, Hemby, ran for 111 yards, okay? Kalen Black, their other running back, ran for 92. They've got a great backfield this season. You still have a loaded receiver room, okay? Omar Cooper, Elijah Sarrett, EJ Williams. You've got receivers. Fernando Mendoza just needs to put it all together here in week number 2, right? Did not throw for a touchdown in week number 1, went 18 for 31 passing. It sucks, but the positive thing is the defense looked good. And when I mean Colton Joseph played well, he ran the ball really efficiently, okay? They could not stop the QB run. Colton Joseph ran for 180 yards, 18 yards of carry in that game. Crazy. 2 touchdowns on the ground, could not throw the ball worth a damn. 11 for 22 passing, 96 passing yards, and 3 interceptions. So the Indiana defense is still obviously very good. Their touchdowns, ODU's touchdowns came with a kickoff return to start the game and a garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter. I'm not concerned. Where I am a little bit concerned is with the Indiana offense and the passing attack. I do feel like, though, Fernando Mendoza is going to improve. It's one game. It's one game. Mendoza should be a lot better. They're taking on Kennesaw. This is a team that is way worse than Old Dominion is by far, and a Kennesaw team that they didn't get blown out. They lost by 1 point at Wake Forest. That should show you where Wake Forest is too, by the way. Having a 10-9 game against the Kennesaw State Owls. You're a minus 1,200 favorite, you win by 1 point? Really? I mean, Kennesaw had the lead in the fourth quarter, in the third quarter of that game. It was 9-7 at one point. It is a revenge game for Dexter Williams, former Indiana quarterback. Was very low in the depth chart there, but he is now starting at Kennesaw State. Sure, I guess. They can't throw the ball, can't really run the ball, and you might think, oh, well, how are they competitive against Wake Forest? Because Wake Forest just sucks. They just do, all right? Robbie Ashford played all right, but Wake Forest is not a good football team in 2025. Okay, they've not been the same since Sam Hartman left in that 1 year where they made the ACC championship game against Kenny Pickett and Pitt. And the fake slide really just ruined the Demon Deacons, didn't it? Damn. This is the get-right game for Indiana. Okay, and well, Kurt Signetti scheduled a lot of these because next week they take on the Indiana State Sycamores before Illinois week number 4 in Bloomington. Big-time football game where we should get Indiana at a pretty good price. But Indiana's obviously starting the year 3-0. They're going to be 5-0 as they go into Eugene, Oregon, hopefully, and go win that football game. We'll see. Because again, what Indiana needs to do this season, we just need to win one. We either need to go to Eugene or to Happy Valley and win. My money's on going to Eugene and winning, okay? But we'll get to that later. This is the get-right game. Signetti has said we're going to play an SEC schedule every year. We're going to play bad schools, non-con every year. Sign me up. Let's go. I have no complaints with Indiana starting 3-0 every single season. No complaints. Why kill yourself trying to play I think they had beat Syracuse, but trying to play Syracuse week 1 like Tennessee did? Who cares? You go 11-1 with this schedule, you make the playoffs. You have a ranked win over Illinois and a ranked win over either Oregon or Penn State, you're a playoff team. You lose one game, you don't make the Big Ten championship game, sure. You have to go back on the road in the playoffs? All right. Give us Notre Dame again. Give Indiana another game this year in the playoffs. See what happens. Okay, see what happens this time around. Defense is better. Run game is brilliant. We just need to get Mendoza going. That's gonna happen this week. He's gonna get Sarah the ball. He's gonna get Omar Cooper the ball, and they're gonna destroy Kennesaw State. Kennesaw's not gonna score. Indiana wins, in my opinion, 42 or 49 to nothing. Give me the Hoosiers. Next game. I want to welcome in Kent State for the first time this year. All right. Maybe we should have talked about Kent State last week, because the reason I didn't do a lot of FCS games is because they weren't going to be competitive. Well, just tell it to Middle Tennessee State. I'll get to them later. Kent State, right, plays Merrimack, and they win 21-17. You know what? ESPN doesn't even believe it. You go on ESPN's website for Kent State, and they say they lost the game. It says they have a 1-0 record, but you look at, like, oh, God, I'll show this real quick. Hold on. Let's see. There we go. Look at this. I don't know where my face cam went. Here I am. Okay. Why does it say they lost? I mean, even ESPN can't believe Kent State won a football game. It's crazy. That's so funny to me. Anyways, not that. Welcome back, Kent State. You win a football game, your first football game that you've won in about a year and a half. A 21-17 victory over the Merrimack Warriors. Kent State's quarterbacks in Drew DeShields and CJ Montez went a combined 12 for 19. Yes, they used both of them. Cool. My point with all this, guys, Kent's going to get destroyed on the road. Okay? They're still probably the worst team in college football. I don't know. Missouri State's pretty bad. If Missouri State played Kent State, I don't know who wins. I'd probably bet on Missouri State. Probably. Again, we need to get the toilet bowl every year. The two worst teams in college football need to play at the end of the year. And the loser goes down to the FCS. And then, let's just bring up North Dakota State, Montana State, South Dakota State. Let's bring them all up. I'm taking Texas Tech minus 40.5 points. That should come to the surprise of absolutely nobody. Texas Tech, obviously, a team that is rich in NIL money. Brendan Morton played an all right week one. No, he played a good week one. 4 touchdowns. They were playing Arkansas, Pine Bluff, so you can't really expect much out that team. They dominate like they're supposed to dominate, right? Morton, 200 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. They were able to effectively run the ball. And now they get to play a team that's on par with FCS football in Kent State. I wonder who's going to win, and I wonder who's going to cover. Give me the Texas Tech Red Raiders minus 48.5 points at home against the Kent State Golden Flashes. Next up, let's go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to Acrisure. I still know how to say that. Acrisure Stadium. The Pitt Panthers take on the Central Michigan Chippewas. Central Michigan, again, we talked about it earlier, huge victory at San Jose State. Insane victory. Did not think they were going to be able to do it. 14.5 point dogs. Got to give credit to where credit is due. And that run game, man, really wore out the Spartans. Nari Biggins and Trey Cornist. Biggins with 18 carries and 102 yards. Cornist, 13 carries, 99 yards, and a touchdown for the Chippewas. That was enough, obviously, to go on the road and beat the pass-heavy Spartans. Now you got to take on Pittsburgh. I don't know why Pittsburgh is only a 21.5 point favorite here. Don't know why. Are we not forgetting what Pittsburgh did last year? We're not forgetting Pittsburgh was in ACC championship talks through the first 7 games of the year. Now, did they then go on to proceed to lose their next 6? Oh, yeah. But, you know what? The Eli Holstein injury late in the year killed them. I know they lost to SMU, they lost to Virginia, and they lost to Clemson. Holstein getting hurt killed their year, okay? Holstein is back. He's still a guy who's like top 10 in the Heisman odds. And obviously, Nate Yardnell has gone to Texas State. Didn't play week 1. Did he? No, he did not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't. Pitt should blow out Central Michigan here. Are we forgetting who Pittsburgh is? Last week, can we get much out of Pittsburgh's game? No, we can't. Okay, they beat Duquesne. They beat Duquesne 61-9. Eli Holstein does what you would expect a premier quarterback in college football to do. 215 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Okay, that's fine. Desmond Reed, obviously, the starting running back on this team now. He won the job last year, obviously. Their other running back, I'm blanking on his name right now, unfortunately, went to Sacramento State. Desmond Reed, decent game, everything you expect him to do, okay? Again, I think Central Michigan's run game's pretty good. It's just 21.5 points is not a lot for Pittsburgh. It's not. And yeah, they're not playing right Duquesne again. Duquesne is obviously much worse than the Chippewas. I completely understand that. There's no way Pittsburgh does not cover 21.5 points here. Actually, let me correct myself. They should cover 21.5 points. Don't take this as a lock because it's not. Central Michigan's not playing San Jose State anymore. And yes, was that a very good road victory? 100%. I have to give so much credit for Central Michigan going on the road and doing that. That's a great win. They're not going to be able to do that against an ACC school and a team with extreme talent in the Pittsburgh Panthers. Do you think Pitt's going all that far in the ACC this season? Probably not. There are obviously elite teams in the conference, and that all starts and ends with the Miami Hurricanes, who Pittsburgh plays in the last week of the season. But I think Pittsburgh's going to be decent, okay? They go to WVU next week. Obviously, the backyard brawl, we'll get to that when we get there next week. Should be a very fun game like it always is. Last year was a great game. I'm taking the Pitt Panthers, though, to win and cover this week, minus 21.5 against the Central Michigan Chippewas. On to our next one. Let's go to another game where I really just scratched my head at the odds. Syracuse is only a 7.5-point favorite against UConn. I get it, Joe Fagano. Good quarterback. I think I might be butchering his name. I think I've always butchered his name. I don't think it's pronounced how it's spelled. Anyways, Fagano is good. Okay? He is. I've seen him play. I'll be honest, did not get to watch much of Central Connecticut and UConn, like I'm sure none of you did either. But UConn looks good. They're able to run the ball effectively. Cam Edwards has 6 carries for 115 yards and a touchdown. Mel Brown comes back, again, 9 carries, 83 yards as well. They're good. UConn's good, obviously. They are an independent, which puts them in a very weird spot because they have an interesting schedule, obviously. I think they should just join a conference. You join the American, or you should just bring back the Big East in football. Let's not do that, actually. No one would be in it right now. Is it? No, UConn. I wouldn't surprise me if UConn joins the Pac-12, actually. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Like that, I just feel like a college football 2026 type thing. Anyways, UConn versus Syracuse. I don't know why the odds are like this. Syracuse loses to Tennessee. Tennessee's really good. And now, again, I took Syracuse to cover, and that didn't come through, and that's okay. Again, Tennessee's a good team. Joey Aguilar plays great in his first game as a Tennessee Volunteer. Star Thomas is a really good game running the football as well. Deshaun Bishop, again, that two-headed monster running back can be really good for that team. There's no shame in getting blown out by Tennessee. It's not. Well, you lose by 19. You don't really get blown out. They were down 17-0 in the first quarter. That's okay. Syracuse still has a good offense. I still believe someone is Steve Angeli, obviously, the transfer from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They've got a decent run game. UConn, they blow out Central Connecticut. It's an FCS school. Fagano looks good. That's fine. Tennessee or Syracuse, they're at home. They're at the JRA Wireless Dome up in upstate New York. This should be a blowout, and I'd be very surprised if it's not. I think the line for me, if I had to set it, it's like 13.5, okay? Syracuse should easily take care of business here. They're at home, and sure, are they the same team as last year? No, they're not the same team that upset Miami in the last week of the season to put Clemson in the ACC championship game. They don't have Kyle McCord anymore. They're not as explosive offensively, but they're still fairly explosive. Yes, UConn can score as well, and UConn might be able to keep up with them for a little bit, but as this game continues to go on, as we get into the third quarter and the fourth quarter, UConn should be wearing down, and Syracuse should just be right there. They're at home as well. I don't get why it's only 7.5 points. Like, is something up that I don't know about? Give me the orange minus 7.5 at home against the UConn Huskies. We move on now to our next one. It's a CUSA matchup that I absolutely love. I've circled this game, okay? I circled this as soon as I saw the odds this week. The Jacksonville State Gamecocks are 5.5-point dogs at home against the Liberty Flames. Are we so serious? I'm probably going Jacksonville State to straight up win the game. Probably. The better bet, though, is plus 5.5, obviously. We're going to take the points, okay? I will consider going money line for Jack State. I'll probably get back to you on this. Check out our best bets on Friday. I will have my 10 favorite bets of the week, plus some player props that I liked. Last week. Again, we hit on Devin Dampier because that guy's him. Jack State is decent. They are. Look at their defense last week. They shut down UCF. And is UCF going to be some juggernaut this season? I don't know. Shut down Taven Jackson. They shut down Cam Fancher, right? They go in there and they limit UCF to 17 points. Guys, this is a 3-3 game going to the fourth quarter. Jack State scores. They go up 10-3. Taven Jackson gets them back in the game with a touchdown to Dylan Wade and then another touchdown with a minute left to DJ Black. Jack State obviously covers. We had them at, plus 17.5 points? Plus 20. I think they're plus 21.5. They were big dogs, and they cover. Gavin Wimsatt obviously goes from Rutgers to Kentucky now to Jack State. I told you, again, I really like the move. We saw the success that Huff had last year at the quarterback position for the squad. I don't know if Gavin Wimsatt, again, I don't know if he's still, actually, I mean, you watched him play. If you did, he still concerns me throwing the football. He just does, okay? He concerns me throwing the ball because he's never been the best passer. He's always been a very good runner of the football. Like, I will always remember watching him play in Bloomington. I was in the stands and watched him rip a huge 80-yard touchdown in a basically empty Memorial Stadium in Bloomington. This is obviously pre-Signetti. You know, Gavin Wimsatt ran all over Indiana 2 years ago at Rutgers. He goes to Kentucky, could not beat out Brock Vandergriff, and now here he is. I still think he's going to be really good at the FCS level. Not FCS, at the Group of 5 level. And here we go. This is his first CUSA game. He was still taking on a Big 12 team in UCF, a team that has talent, a team that has a good running back. Now you're taking on Liberty, who I'm not impressed with at all. I said this, you know, I think we mentioned Liberty a little bit last week. They're not that good, okay? They're just not. You get Ethan Vasco. He's the Caden Salter replacement. Salter, obviously, Colorado. We'll talk about them in a little bit. They're playing Delaware this week. We get to introduce Delaware to the channel for the first time, at least being talked about every single week. Ethan Vasco is a former Coastal Carolina quarterback. Doesn't have a great game against Maine, but has a good enough game. You know, he had 4 touchdowns. Efficiency-wise, he was all right, I guess. I'm not sold on Liberty. They put up 28 points on Maine, on the Maine Black Bears. You were not impressive last season when you were projected to go to the playoffs last year because you play in the crap Conference USA, who I don't know who wins this season. I think it's still Western Kentucky with Maverick. I think Jack State isn't horrible. And this is a game where really, again, we get to see, okay? Is Liberty really what they think they are this year? Or at least what the books think they are and the public thinks they are? In my opinion, no, they're not, okay? We watched them play last year. Obviously, they had a great 2023 where they went to the Fiesta Bowl and got their ass kicked by Oregon. Sure, credit to where credit is due, you got to the point. You got to that point. You lose your quarterback to Colorado. Is Vasco decent? He is. He's not Caden Salter. I'd take Salter every day over Vasco. And you get a Jack State team that's going to play defense, that's going to run the ball on you, and has this game at home in Jacksonville, Alabama. All that considered, I like Jacksonville State to win. Screw the points. I like Jack State to win the football game again. Actually, let's not screw the points. Let's keep the points and take them, okay? And then we'll think about the money line, or we'll just adjust our units accordingly this week, okay? I'm taking Jack State. I think the run game is going to give Liberty some problems. Guys, Sincere Baines, the starting running back from Maine last week, ran all over Liberty. Had a 77-yard touchdown, 118 yards on the ground. In all fairness, they shut him down other than the touchdown, but there's spots where Gavin Wimsatt and this run game can be very successful. Cam Cook was the leading receiver last week for Jack State and the leading rusher as well. I believe Wimsatt's going to be a lot more active in the run game this week. We'll see how he throws the ball, because that is concerning still. But I believe Jack State's defense will be able to shut down Liberty. Liberty's offense has always been crap, okay, over the last year and a half, and I still think it is. Vasco, again, credit to where credit is due. I like Jack State in this football game, though. Jacksonville State plus 5.5 and the money line on top of that as well. Give me the Gamecocks. On to our next one. Let's go to Texas A&M versus Utah State at Kyle Field. A&M is a 28.5-point favorite, and I'm going to go with the underdogs here in Utah State. I went back and forth in this one. Utah State did us well last week, right? Malachi Nelson's first game of college football goes to Utah and cannot pull through against the Utah State Aggies. I talked pretty much, quite in depth last week about Bryson Barnes and how I still think Bryson Barnes can be an extremely, efficient quarterback at the FBS level in 2025. Obviously had a down year in 2024 after transferring from the University of Utah over to Utah State. But now he's just the guy, right? There is no competition. Bryson Barnes is going to be getting pretty much 100% of the snaps in competitive football this year for Utah State, knock on wood, right? He is a very solid quarterback. He is, 23, 24. He's very experienced, got to play a full season at Utah with the Cam Rising injury. And you've got a very good running back. A running back can do it all for you. He can catch passes out the backfield. He can carry it for you as well in Miles Davis. Miles Davis in week number 1 against Texas El Paso had 88 yards on the ground, 61 yards in the air. That's really what you need. And especially in a spot like this, you're going to Kyle Field. Now, does this feel like kind of a not great line for Utah State? Kinda. It is 28.5. Again, though, A&M can win by 4 touchdowns, and they don't cover here. Last week, they won by 24 points. No, less. They only won by 18, if my math is doing... 18 points against Texas San Antonio. Marcel Reed looks good. Marcel Reed looks really good. Owen McCown in Texas San Antonio scoring on Texas A&M. Who's to say Bryson Barnes and Utah State can't do the same exact thing? Guys, UTSA's running back, Robert Henry, had 177 yards and 16 carries. Seems like a Miles Davis night for me. It does. It just does. And Owen McCown didn't even have a good game. Owen McCown had 121 yards. Prior to last week, would I say Bryson Barnes is better than Owen McCown? I don't know. Probably not. I think Bryson Barnes can have way better efficiency than that. And I think, right, we can see a similar line out of Miles Davis than what we got out of Robert Henry last week at UTSA. So again, on paper, does 20.5 feel like not a lot for Texas A&M to cover against Utah State? It isn't, especially at Kyle Field with 100,000 people in the building, 100%. Just look how they played last week. Marcel Reed's a good quarterback. Their defense, though, was not as good as I thought it was going to be. Obviously, very early this season, they'll get much better as we get into SEC play. Obviously, we have teams starting SEC play today. We'll get to that at the end of the video. But I'm going to be taking Utah State. Give me the Aggies on the road, plus 28.5. I believe a lot more in Bryson Barnes, I think, than a lot of other people do. Again, this is a guy who's played at the Pac-12 level before with Utah in the final Pac-12 season. He's played good competition, okay? And did he do all that great? It was, dependent on the game. But an SEC defense should not kill Bryson Barnes, okay, in week number 2. I'm going to take Utah State on the points here, plus 28.5 for the Aggies to go into Kyle Field at College Station and cover against Texas State. On to our next one, we get to skip some FCS games, like no talking about Wake Forest this week. They're horrible. No talking about Temple, who destroyed UMass last week. New Mexico, they're kind of competitive against Michigan. No Ohio State this week, and instead we go on to Clemson versus Troy. Okay, I will start this prediction off by saying don't bet on this game. Okay? Just don't. I think Clemson will cover against Troy. We know they're going to win, obviously. If they don't win this game, Dabo Swinney should be fired. Actually, no, he shouldn't for what all he's done for this program. But, they're not going to lose to Troy. We know they're not. The question is, can they cover against Troy? Again, I would not bet on this game. I said it last week, and I said this multiple times. I said this in the prediction video. I said it in the best bets. I didn't believe in the Clemson hype. I didn't at all. I didn't believe that they were the best team in college football. I know they have talent, but I didn't believe that they had the most talent in college football, okay? I thought that was Texas, kinda. I'm willing to say that is Ohio State. I'm also willing to say that could be Miami, right? And I also could, they're not the top talent team. Utah's in the top 20, though, okay? I never thought Clemson was as good as people thought they were. I highlighted their troubles on week 1 in the last 4 years, and sure, LSU had lost 6 consecutive games on opening week as well. I never bought into the Clemson hype, right? We got LSU at plus 175 / plus 180 on Saturday. That was a great victory for us, okay? That's a good football team in Louisiana State. Clemson's good too, don't get me wrong. It's just not a team I would bet on right now, and especially to cover 31.5 points. Troy's coming off a victory against Nichols. They win the game 38-20. Goose Crowder has an all right game, throws for 144 yards and 3 touchdowns. That game's set up and won essentially, though, because of Troy's run game, and that's Tay Meadows. Meadows had 186 yards on the ground in that game with the touchdown as well. Again, a good victory for Troy. They beat Nichols, but at the same time, Nichols had a lead against you at halftime. Nichols actually had a lead going into the fourth quarter, where Troy just came out on top and scored 28 points in the fourth quarter. Right? I mean, you're down 20-17 at one point in the fourth. You're down 17-10 going into the fourth quarter. You were down 17-7 at one point against against Nichols. I'm not sold on Clemson being an elite team. They're not the best team in the ACC. They're not, I'd say they're a borderline top 10 team. I still don't buy the hype on Cade Klubnik, okay? He's not Trevor Lawrence. He's not Deshaun Watson, okay? He's closer. I mean this by no disrespect. He's closer to DJU than the other 2 guys, okay? He's better than DJU. But he's closer to Uyangale than he is to Lawrence and Deshaun Watson, who are NFL quarterbacks, right? I completely understand this team has talent. They've got guys. I don't like them to, I don't think they're the best in the ACC. Actually, I think they're 3rd best in the ACC because SMU is better than Clemson. Miami and SMU are the 2 best teams in the ACC. Will they cover against Troy? Yes. But this prediction and this bet, which again, I would not put my U.S. currency on it, is more of, okay, Troy isn't that good, and Clemson's at Death Valley, and they only need to cover 31.5 points against a team from the Sun Belt. They should cover here, okay? This is not, though, that I'm enamored by the Clemson Tigers. In fact, I believe Clemson is going to have trouble next week at Georgia Tech. Will they win? Probably. But I'm looking at Clemson's schedule right now, and I believe there's a very good chance they finish with 3 losses. LSU, SMU, South Carolina. And don't forget, Florida State's back in the equation as well. It's not an elite team right now for me. It's not. They're a good team. They're not an elite. Give me them to still cover 31.5. We'll check back on them against Georgia Tech and Haynes King. We will check back. Next up, let's go to a matchup. Big Ten versus MAC. We have Rutgers taking on Miami of Ohio. I did skip a couple games. Again, they will be on the feature games at the end of the video. Games being played in New Jersey. Hesitantly, I'm going to go Miami of Ohio plus 13.5. I believe in the defense quite a bit. I do. Last week, we had Miami of Ohio to cover 17.5 points at Wisconsin. Oh, they did. They didn't score, but they covered. Wisconsin loses Billy Edwards. He's out now. Obviously, they're starting quarterback transfer from Maryland. Miami of Ohio looked horrible offensively. It was a joke. Still covered, though, right? Daquan Finn, who I'm a huge fan of, was horrible. They couldn't move the ball. I mean, obviously, you can't move the ball if you have 0 points, right? They scored 0 points in total in Madison, Wisconsin against the Badgers. It's bad. Daquan Finn goes 19 for 18 passing with 83 yards and 2 interceptions. QBR of 15.9. They couldn't run the ball either. Their running back, Kenny Tracy, their starting running back, had 6 carries for 15 yards. Daquan Finn, 12 carries, 13 yards. Cole Weaver, their leading receiver, had 35 yards and 3 catches. You got to give them credit, though. Their defense, they stuffed Wisconsin. They did. And I get it. You had to go to the former Oregon State Beaver and Danny O'Neal instead of Billy Edwards when Edwards went out with injury. I don't care who is starting at quarterback for Wisconsin. That's impressive that Miami still held them to 17 points, and I'm very grateful to Miami of Ohio for, covering the 17. And sure, they had 2 opportunities where they should have kicked field goals and they should have hit field goals. Like, really, this final score should have been 6-17, which is not that much more impressive. It's not. But they shouldn't have got shut out. They missed 2 field goals that they should have probably hit. They take on Rutgers, who played Ohio really tough. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? Going into the year, I was like, I think Miami of Ohio and Ohio are right there. Really think so. They're not, okay? They're not. Ohio, from watching week 1, is definitely better than Miami of Ohio. That doesn't really matter, though, as we go into this game, right? We look at Rutgers. They played Ohio really tough. Parker Navarro's got a really good game. We'll talk about Ohio later in the video. Ethan Kalamankis is all right. That Rutgers defense, though, isn't that great. Navarro shreds them on the ground and with his arm. Chase Hendricks had 115 yards in the air, or at least receiving. If there's ever a week that, Miami of Ohio can open up their offense and get any points on the board, it's going to be this week. They go to Rutgers and they're 13.5-point dogs. I would just expect, again, I think Wisconsin defense is solid. We watched that game, right? Daquan Finn, who I think is a very capable quarterback, and I think will be much better when he's taken on more MAC teams like he was when he played at Toledo. I think they're going to be somewhat competitive in this game against Rutgers. Will they win? Probably not. I think they lose the game by 10 points. Again, I expect the Miami of Ohio offense to be better. I'm going to credit that. I'm going to credit that in both regards too. Okay, yes, their offense was bad, but at the same time, the Wisconsin defense is solid, right? Now you take on a defense from Rutgers who gave up 31 points to Ohio, and at the same time, Miami of Ohio's defense is pretty solid too. They stuffed, again, Wisconsin to only 17. I think it's a very playable line here, very playable spread for the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. Plus 13.5. Yeah, I believe they cover on the road here at Rutgers. Back-to-back, again, Power 4 opponents for them. Trust me, I think they'll be still a lot better. Well, they have to be a lot better when they go back to MAC action, but they got to play UNLV next week. It's just a brutal non-con for them. I fully expect them to be better. I think they still will be contending for the MAC championship, even though I don't think they're the favorites to win. I think they will be competitive, though, in the Mid-American. Anyways, give me their opponents, though. I'm going to take, I'm going to take Miami of Ohio plus 13.5. Again, I think Rutgers will win the football game, but I'm going to take Miami of Ohio to cover the 13.5. Next up, we go to Corvallis. Oregon State versus Fresno State. Oh, was I disappointed in Oregon State last week? Oh, man. I was so confident I put them in the best bets. Didn't hit. We did well with the best bets. Again, shout out to Miami of Florida, Carson Beck and company. Shout out to Devin Dampier. Hopefully we can shout out UNC after tonight. Plus 3.5, by the way. Oregon State versus Cal. Goodness, that was bad. That was a bad football game. It was. I came into the season with high hopes from Malik Murphy. I still do believe he's a good quarterback. Jaron Kiwe Sagapolite, think that's how they say his name. I don't know. The former 5-star, the 5-star, is solid. 20 for 30 passing, 3 touchdowns. We don't get to talk about Cal this week. They don't have a game against an FBS opponent. I believe they play Texas Southern at home. I think so, yeah. Cal's great. They were great in week 1. Are they a viable threat for the ACC title? Probably not. But they played a good football game. Oregon State, they put up numbers, in garbage time kind of, or at least in the second half. They went into halftime down 17-3. Cal scores in their first 2 drives. They should have scored in their 3rd drive. They just, I believe, they went for it on 4th down, at the Oregon State 20-something and couldn't get it. I still have high hopes of Malik Murphy. I still think the run game can be solid with Anthony Hankerson coming back. Again, we talked about it. They were turning their top producers on the ground in the air. Why wouldn't they be better this season? With a better quarterback, it's not Ben Gulbranson anymore. It's a guy who tore it up last year at Duke and Malik Murphy. Fresno State's their opponent this week. I actually expect Oregon State to cover this. 2.5 points. I know Fresno beat Georgia Southern, and we had Fresno to win. That was a best bet as well. I felt pretty good about that. I was like, I know Fresno looked bad against Kansas, but that's Kansas. They're getting Georgia Southern, in Fresno. The Bulldogs are not losing that game, and obviously they didn't. E.J. Warner still didn't play well, guys. Their run game won them the game. Bryson Donaldson, I guess Elijah Gillum's 3rd now because Rayshawn Luke got way more touches, and he scored 3 touchdowns as well. They didn't win that game because of E.J. Warner, though. They couldn't throw the ball. E.J. Warner still threw 2 picks and threw pretty bad interceptions. Well, just costly at the time interceptions, too. Is E.J. Warner their guy 100%? They gave him a little bit, I believe, of NIL money. He got some money to come to Fresno. Again, kind of because of the last name, but he's a decent quarterback. They have to ride with E.J. Warner. He is the starting quarterback. It's just, my goodness, I can't rely on that passing game at all. Oregon State, time to stop the run. They did exactly that, though, against Cal. No one from Cal really produced in the run game. It was Jaron Kiwe who killed them in the pass game. So what Cal's going to do here, what Oregon State's going to do here, they're going to force Fresno to throw the ball on them. They're going to do exactly what, this is going to be a comp, but here we go. They're going to do exactly what Miami did to Notre Dame. Okay, you got a quarterback in C.J. Carr, freshman. Obviously, E.J. Warner's a 5th-year senior. But we're going to force your quarterback to beat us. We don't think he can. We're going to load the box to make sure you can't run like they did against, they just couldn't stop the pass last game. But they're going to force Fresno to throw the ball on them. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm taking Oregon State. By the way, game's in Corvallis. Oregon State should be able to win the game at home. I believe Malik Murphy is going to have a much better second outing. They still have playmakers, right? You have Anthony Hankerson. You have a guy in Trent Walker. You've got guys who can go out there and make plays for you. I'm taking Oregon State to beat Fresno State and cover the 2.5 points as well. Fresno, again, their run game's good. I worry about E.J. Warner. Trust me, I'll keep an eye on Fresno for the rest of the year. I watch quite a bit of Fresno State football, okay? I can't take them in this spot. I'm taking Oregon State. Next up, let's go to Cincinnati, Ohio, as we've got the Cincinnati Bearcats taking on the Bowling Green Falcons. Give me Cincinnati to cover this line against Bowling Green. Feels like a pretty easy one for me. Line is set at 17.5 points. I believe Cincinnati covers here. Battle of Ohio, right? The Falcons coming from Bowling Green, Ohio. We know where Cincinnati's from, obviously. The Bearcats were more competitive against Nebraska than I thought. I thought Dylan Raiola, who played a decent game, I thought he was going to really put it on Cincinnati, especially with his, idol inspiration, Patrick Mahomes, in the crowd. By the way, I don't know. Again, I'm no fan of Taylor Swift. The fact that Taylor Swift went to a Dylan Raiola football game, probably just because the guys in the Chiefs locker room thinks it's funny. Think it's funny that Raiola, mimics Mahomes and he's just like, that's his hero. The fact that, again, I'm no Taylor Swift fan at all. I actually despise Taylor Swift. Okay, despise is a strong word. I'm not a fan, okay? The fact that Taylor Swift's at a Dylan Raiola football game is the funniest thing ever. I know the game was in Kansas City. That's just so hilarious to me. Anyways, Cincinnati played a decent game against Nebraska. They didn't win, but I thought they played all right, okay? Competitive game, much closer than I thought. They need to get it figured out on offense, though. Brendan Sorbsy was just a running threat in that game. 100 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Couldn't throw the ball for crap. Okay? He went 13 for 25 throwing the football. Dylan Raiola is turning into a good college quarterback. He is. But this is not about Nebraska right now. Raiola, though, threw the ball 40 times, had 250 yards. He was solid. Nebraska's going to really rely on him for the next 2 seasons, 3 years, however long he's here. Brendan Sorbsy, again, this Bearcats offense needs to get going, at least in terms of the pass. Sorbsy has been a off and on passer. Trust me, since his career in Indiana and last year at Cincinnati, it's been very iffy at times. Sometimes he's going to look great, but don't forget how badly Cincinnati closed the year last year, right? Taking on Bowling Green this week. Again, I think Cincinnati covers easily. I like the Cincinnati defense. Yes, Rilo threw for 250 yards on them. Yes, Emmett Johnson ran for 110 yards on them as well. Guys, Nebraska scored 20 points. Cincinnati's defense played well enough to the point where Cincinnati had a lead in the third quarter. They were up 13-10, you know? No, they were losing 13-10. But still, they were within 3 points in the third quarter. And their offense did not play particularly well. So I like the defense a lot. I don't think Bowling Green, let's be honest, I don't think they scored tonight. Drew Pine's just, Drew Pine's just a quarterback that's been around college football so long. Started at Notre Dame, played at, God, this is his 6th year in college. Drew Pine was at Notre Dame in 2020, transferred out in 2023, went to Arizona State, then went to Mizzou last year, now is starting at Bowling Green. He's like 26. Again, Drew Pine in 2025 does not move me. He's not a guy that's going to take over the game. He's no Connor Bazelak, and I know, again, Bazelak had his stretches where he wasn't good last season, but they don't have Bazelak anymore. They don't have Harold Fannin. I'm not moved by a Drew Pine-led football team. They're not going to score at Cincinnati. So, again, then here I pose the question to you. Can Cincinnati score 18 points? Yes, they can. They're playing Bowling Green, not Nebraska. They're at home. They're at Nippert Stadium. Okay? Cincinnati scoring at least 21. My final score prediction, 28-0. Okay? Probably 35-0. This should be an easy play. Bowling Green scores 26 against Lafayette last week, but that's Lafayette and you're at home. You go on the road to Cincinnati. And it's also a thing, too, we're going to talk about this later on in the video as well, okay? When you get schools like Cincinnati, who is a team that's been in the playoffs before, they've been an elite program in the state, obviously not the program in the state of Ohio because that is the Ohio State University, but when you're a school like Cincinnati, you don't lose to Bowling Green. You run the state other than the Buckeyes, okay? Cincinnati beats Bowling Green, and they are going to cover the 17.5 points as well, okay? They are going to Lil Bro the Bowling Green Falcons this week. Because Bowling Green and Drew Pine, who's nobody's little brother because he's 26, okay, at least in college football, they'll get bullied this week, okay? Their offense will not be able to move the ball, okay? Next up, let's welcome Delaware, okay? Like we've added 2 teams this year, obviously, to College Football 26, the video game. Pointing at my controller like you can see it. And we welcome them, obviously, into the FBS level. Delaware's first FBS versus FBS game is Colorado. So Delaware last week wins in the all-Delaware matchup, and like my point I'm making, Delaware being the best team in the state, obviously they're going to beat Delaware State, the Hornets, I believe, yes, the Hornets, at home. It's one of those things. You're the better team in the state, you're obviously going to win. Take pride in being the elite program in the state, in the very small state of Delaware. It's an illustrious program, by the way. They had Joe Flacco once upon a time. Delaware now takes on Colorado. So, again, it's their first FBS versus FBS game. And I'm not going to lie, guys, I forgot. Oh, we'll talk about it later. I'll have something to say when we talk about Missouri State going to Marshall, because I messed up last week on something. Colorado versus Delaware. Colorado should bitch Delaware. Okay? It's anticlimactic, sure. I don't actually think Colorado played that badly against Georgia Tech. I don't think so. I think that last drive was atrocious, and the lack of clock management, or just, the lack of, I don't want to call it effort. It's just, what are we doing on the last offensive drive? Haynes King rips the big touchdown in the fourth quarter. Okay, right? Georgia Tech goes up by 7. He covers, so shout out to Haynes King. By not going down, he covers the spread for us. Shout out to him. He's great. Love Haynes King. Colorado, that last drive was atrocious. I think it takes away from everything they did earlier in the football game. Was it a bad game for Colorado? No, I thought they played much better than I expected them to. Again, is Cam Salter the solution? No, he's not. He's not a guy who's going to take them to the promised land. Omarion Miller, who's been here for, throughout the Sanders era, had 1 catch on 39 yards. Their run game is not what it used to be either. They're obviously a watered-down version of what they used to be, obviously, during the Shador and Travis Hunter era. And they're never going to get the media buzz and the hype that they had when Hunter and Sanders were here. Obviously, Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy last season. They couldn't stop Haynes King, but, a lot of teams can't stop Haynes King. Haynes King ran for 155 yards last week and 3 touchdowns against the Buffs. They will be able to figure it out against Delaware, though, okay? I do believe Delaware is better than Montana State. Out of the 2 new teams, obviously, that were added to college football this season, or added to the FBS level, they're both in the CUSA. Delaware is much better than their, other the other new team in college football this year, again, at the FBS. It's still your second ever game. You've got a quarterback in Nick Minucci. think that's how you say his name. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Zach Marker was the starter to start the season. Apparently he's not. At least he was in the video game, and then I thought in the offseason, I thought Zach Marker was the starter. He's not. It's Nick Minchiucci. Okay, he played already against Delaware State. He is a dual threat guy. You're playing Colorado on the road. I don't care how down you can be on Colorado this season. They're not losing to Delaware. And this is the game where it's like, all right, Caden Salter, this is a big game for Caden Salter too, because hear me out, okay? Next week, Colorado on Friday night has to go to Houston. It's a huge football game. Absolutely huge football game. First Big 12 game of the year, right? You still, again, this is the beauty of the playoffs, the 12-team playoff. Colorado, who lost in week 1 to Georgia Tech, they still control their own destiny to the playoffs. You go 11-1, you win the Big 12, obviously you're in. Every Big 12 game counts. It means more than non-con games. It just does. So if you are Colorado, you need to figure out your quarterback situation, right? You need to figure out, all right, is Salter really our guy for Big 12 play this season to go on the road to Houston? Or do we need to make an adjustment to Juju Lewis? My point with all of this is it's a huge week for Caden Salter. Caden Salter needs to show up for Colorado, and I believe he's going to, okay? I think they're going to blow out the Delaware Blue Hens, who are just obviously starting at the FBS level. Give me Colorado in this spot over Delaware, minus 24.5. We do need a lot of points for Colorado, but truthfully, I actually thought their game week 1 against Georgia Tech was better than a lot of people thought it was, okay? Again, I know the big headline is that last drive sucked. They were better than you think they are, okay? Colorado's still a decent team. They're still a Big 12 program. I think they're still going to win 7 games. Give me the Colorado Buffaloes to win at home and cover 24.5 points against the Delaware Blue Hens. We go on now to our next game, and we move to a matchup between the University of Texas San Antonio and Texas State. So from the Alamo Dome, obviously in San Antonio, we've got a matchup between an American squad in UTSA and the Sun Belt's Texas State Bobcats. I'm going Texas State plus money here. I am. I don't know if I want to take money line here. Thinking about it. I'll get you the exact money line odds right now. I'm checking out FanDuel right now. I kind of want to go Texas State money line here. Plus 150 for Texas State money line it's calling my name, man. It's calling my name. The safer bet's plus 4.5, right? Because, I mean, again, you can lose the game 27-23 and you cover. I'm throw out a random score. Texas State's good. I was surprised last week, okay? I was wrong. Okay, I thought Eastern Michigan with Noah Kim, former Michigan State and Coastal Carolina quarterback, I thought that run game was going to be too much for Texas State. I was wrong, right? Brad Jackson has a really good game as a starting quarterback for Texas State, okay? Brad Jackson, as a redshirt freshman, was appointed the starting role, and he excelled, right? Going into last week, I didn't think Brad Jackson was going to be able to uphold the standard set before him at Texas State with Jordan McLeod and with TJ Finley in the 2 years prior. Well, maybe he is. First game, so far so good, again for Brad Jackson, who threw for 215 yards and had 4 touchdowns. Got to give the guy a lot of credit. Texas State now goes on the road to take on UTSA, a team that was very competitive at Texas A&M. They were. Again, we talked about them earlier. However, Owen McCown did not play all that well. Didn't. It was Robert Henry in that run game that really went at A&M. Obviously, right, he had the 75-yard touchdown. He had 2 of them in that game. If Owen McCown's not playing a great game, I don't really love UTSA in this spot. That's why I'm going Texas State. I get it, right? Texas State's going on the road, right? I don't know my Texas geography. I don't know how far Texas State is from San Antonio, okay? I could not tell you. But I can't imagine it's that far of a trip, okay? They're from San Marcos, Texas. Don't know where San Marcos is in comparison to San Antonio. They both have San in their names. Oh, it's right there. I'm looking at a map. Okay, this is a 30 to 45 minute drive. Okay, these two teams are right next to each other. Obviously, they play in different conferences, but this is a big matchup in the city of San Antonio. Okay, in the Alamo Dome, I don't know how great of attendance they're going to do in the Alamo Dome for this game, but there should be no involvement in travel, obviously. You're right there. Yes, you're going on the road, but essentially, it's kind of still a home game for you. It is. Texas State looked better than UTSA last week, and I get it. Oh, UTSA went to A&M. Oh, they did. They did. Owen McCown was not great. And Texas San Antonio, don't get me wrong, we're down 17-21 after the start of the third quarter when Robert Henry broke off the first play in the third quarter in the second half for a 75-yard touchdown. Well, what happened after that? Okay, A&M scored 28 consecutive points and went up 42-17. Okay, Owen McCown did not play his best football game. If he's not playing his best football here, Texas State's going to make you pay because this team is going to score, right? They were 13.5-point favorites last week against EMU. I think they cover here, and I think they win this time around. Again, I think it needs to be said, okay, is Jordan McLeod going to be is Jordan McLeod a premier quarterback in the NFL? Is TJ Finley a premier quarterback in the NFL? Obviously not, because TJ Finley stole a truck, so he's not playing college football anymore. Are those guys elite quarterbacks in college football? No. But Texas State is now establishing a long lineage now of 3 guys. If Brad Jackson is what he looked like to be in week 1 in San Marcos, you're establishing a pretty solid lineage and line of good quarterbacks coming out your school. And now you got a redshirt freshman who you recruited to be here. Like Brad Jackson a lot, looked good in week 1. I'm taking him and the Texas State Bobcats to not just cover in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. I'm taking them to win. Give me Texas State plus 4.5 and the money line as well. Again, that plus 150, it's calling my name. Give me Texas State. Next up, let's go to a matchup here between the Navy Midshipmen, and they're taking on the University of Alabama Birmingham Blazers. I came across a TikTok. Don't know who it was from. I don't even know if this is a player on the team. I think it was. Came across a TikTok. It's on my For You page. By the way, check out Greedo Plays Clips on TikTok. Multiple TikToks a day over there. We're doing really well over there right now. We're just starting college football as well. Anyway, so I come across a TikTok of the University of Alabama Birmingham. I don't know if it's a player on the team. I think it was. Celebrating their victory. And the caption was, the title of the TikTok was, like, dude's just doing a dance. But that's why I hope it's not a player. The caption is, that feeling when you put belt to ass on Alabama State. You won the game by 10 points. And the headline in that game was not, UAB won. It was, how good is Andrew Body? A guy who put up 312 yards and 4 touchdowns. A guy who UAB was literally recruiting after the game. They were talking to Andrew Body and essentially saying, you know what, Jalen Kitna's a senior. Like, he's gone after this year. You want to come down and stay in state and play for Birmingham next season? Like, I would not be surprised. Andrew Body's going to play FBS football next year. He's going to. Last week at Birmingham, right? Alabama State scores 42 points. They lose the game by 10. They were up. Don't get me wrong. They were up in that game until the third quarter. But Andrew Body in that game throws for 312 yards and 120 yards on the ground. 5 total touchdowns. Again, that's a guy who's going to play the FBS level next year. University of Alabama Birmingham, honestly, is not a horrible spot for him. Don't get me wrong. Does UAB have talent on offense? They do. Jalen Kitna. Javon Jackson had 166 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Solomon Beebe had 2 touchdowns as well. Isaiah Jacobs had a touchdown. They've got running backs. Corey Milner is a good receiver too. Jalen Kitna is a more than serviceable quarterback, especially at UAB, right? He is more than serviceable in the American Conference. They're not better than Navy though. American Conference game here. Navy's coming off a 52-7 victory against VMI. Okay, all right. Is anyone surprised they beat the Virginia Military Institute? No. But Blake Horvath returns. He's going to have a good year this year. He's going to. Alex Tessa is back. Eli Heidenreich is back as well. Braxton Woodson looked good on the ground, who is playing some quarterback too. Navy's solid this year. Dare I say Navy might be the best team in the American? I don't know. It might be. Memphis is solid. I like Memphis a lot. The American's wide open for me. And yeah, Navy's much better than UAB. Yeah, UAB scored 52 points. They gave up 42 at the same time. What is Navy going to do? Okay, they're going to slow the game down. They throw the ball more than they used to, obviously. All of the military schools do. They throw it more than they used to, though. But they're going to slow the game down. They're going to play good defensive football. And they're going to punch you where it hurts. In terms of, they're going to, again, run their veer, run their, option, their wing tee, and they're going to beat you for a 75-yard touchdown. And then they're going to get a 3 and out, and they'll hit you with a long drive of 14 plays. And then they're going to run you into the ground as well. Braxton Woodson, their backup quarterback, ran for 180 yards. They're using Woodson and Blake Horvath. Dare I say Woodson's better? He probably is, but Horvath is a senior. I don't know. Guys, Navy's better than Army this season. We'll talk about Army later. I'm taking Navy here to blow out UAB. They are 21.5-point favorites. Yes, UAB scored 52 points, but you scored 52 points against a bad Alabama State Hornets defense, and you let, again, Andrew Body dominate your defense. Imagine what Navy's going to do. Different style, sure, but Body ran for 200-something or 190-something yards on your defense. I'm taking Navy in a blowout, and by the way, the game is in Annapolis, Maryland. Give me Navy, minus 21.5 points. Next up, go to a matchup here at Western Michigan in Kalamazoo, Michigan. North Texas is a 10.5-point favorite in West Michigan for the spot. Taking the mean green. I'm taking North Texas to win the football game. I'm taking them to cover 10.5 points as well. Their week 1 game, Michigan State. We'll talk about Michigan State later. They're playing in the red bandana game against Boston College. That's a feature game for us this week. Not sold on them. Really not. We'll get to them. We'll talk in depth about Michigan State later. And it all starts with Aiden Childs. It will always start with Aiden Childs with that football team. He's extremely talented. We'll get to that later, but we'll wait for that. West Michigan, they lose by 17. They play a competitive game against Michigan State. They're down 21-0 at halftime. They, go down 23-0. They have a safety. Score a touchdown at the end of the game, go for 2, don't get it. Okay. It's a pick 6, by the way, that they get. My problem with them is their offense isn't very good. It was the backup quarterback from Michigan State that threw the pick 6, not Aiden Childs, who did not have an extremely great game, but a decent enough game, I'll say, for Aiden Childs. Not convinced, not sold on anything Western Michigan's got offensively, and I get it. They're facing a good Michigan State defense. It's a Big Ten defense in East Lansing. I get that. Not over the moon with either of their quarterbacks. They played Brady Jones. They played Brock Lowry. Neither of these guys are going to wow you at all. Run game's not great. They have some receivers in Balin Brooks and Talike Williams. Guys, North Texas. We talk about good teams in the American Conference. This is another one of them. And I'm always looking out for, who's the group of 5 team that's going to go to the playoffs? I don't know who that is yet. North Texas, Navy, Memphis, West Kentucky. Don't know who that is at the Mountain West right now. These are the teams in the short list right now. They are, right? North Texas's offense is one of the best in the G5. And you look at their schedule, South Florida, another team. It's possible they go undefeated. It is. Their toughest games, Wazoo or maybe South Florida or Navy. Oh, all those games are in Texas. They don't got to go on the road for any of them. They go on the road this weekend. They're going to blow out Western Michigan, I believe. I don't think Western Michigan's able to score. And on top of that, they're not going to be able to keep up with North Texas, right? So North Texas lose their quarterback last year. They lose Chandler Morris. Instead, they go to Mestamaker. Mestamaker's pretty good. Last week, 329 yards. Yeah, they're playing Lamar. But Drew Mestamaker is a capable quarterback. Kind of played some last year, I believe, with the Morris injury. Yeah, he played a little bit last year with the Morris injury. First week, 329 yards, passing 3 touchdowns. That'll play. Redshirt freshman quarterback who's extremely efficient with the football, and he can deliver for you. And I get it, right? West Michigan, they're in Kalamazoo now. They're not playing against their big brothers, obviously, in Michigan and in the Spartans, the Michigan State Spartans. North Texas is just going to run them out the stadium, though. Because of this explosive offense, they're going to hit you over the top. They are a fun team to watch. They're having a very explosive offense. And, oh, by the way, their defense looked good last week as well. Sure, again, you're taking on Lamar, who, Western Michigan, I don't care what you say about them. Yes, their offense is better than Lamar's. And North Texas defense, though, looked solid last week. I'm going to take them again to win and cover this week. 10.5 points is not a lot for an offense. That is really good. It's going to be Drew Mestamaker and North Texas, another one of these G5 quarterbacks that is very good. And very young too. A guy who is going to finish his career in collegiate football in the Power 4, undoubtedly. North Texas minus 10.5 in Kalamazoo. On to our next game and our final of this graphic. We've got a whole nother one of these plus the feature games. It's like 10 feature games. Wisconsin versus Middle Tennessee. Why is this only 27.5 points? Another one of these lines, like the Syracuse game, that I kind of just look at and say, what? 27? Are we serious? Middle Tennessee lost by 20 points to Austin, PA. FCS Austin, PA. The Governors of Austin, PA. And an Austin, PA team, by the way. Austin, PA, whatever how you want to call them. A team that they're in the CBI in basketball this year. First thing that pops in my mind about them, they were 4-8 last year in the FCS. They were 4-8 in the FCS. They lost to Louisville last year, 62-0. They lost to Southern Illinois. What? Their quarterback, Austin Smith, got benched, right? Yeah, they start Chris Parson now. They had a new quarterback, and you lose 34-14 at home? I'm telling you, man, the bottom of the CUSA is so bad. I can't wait for Wednesday football in the CUSA this season. I can't wait for it. It's the most disgusting stuff you're ever gonna watch, but it's hilarious at the same time. I just can't wait. Wednesday night, Middle Tennessee, Kennesaw State, nothing beats that, The CUSA, right? It's like borderline FCS football, but it's not. Now, the best FCS teams, can beat these teams, and obviously like, Austin PA is not a good FCS team, but they beat them. First win for FCS Austin PA since 1987. Anyways, if Middle Tennessee loses by 20 points to Austin PA on their own turf in Tennessee, how are they going to even remain competitive with Wisconsin? I know the only reason is like, oh, Wisconsin couldn't score against Miami of Ohio. Well, Austin PA just put up 34 points on Middle Tennessee. Huh? Wisconsin obviously has to go to their backup quarterback, Danny O'Neal. There's a reason he got forced out at Oregon State. Okay, there's a reason for that. Sorry, San Diego State. Did I say Oregon State at the beginning of the video? Oh, I did. San Diego State. The reason he got forced out there, but he was extremely young, and it wasn't a bad decision for him. You go back up Billy Edwards for 1 year, you put yourself in line to be the starting quarterback in 2026, and oh, well, Billy Edwards, reminiscent kind of a Max Johnson last year, a senior quarterback who transfers, who gets injured in the first game. In comes the backup. It's Danny O'Neal. Like Jacoby Criswell last year, here comes Danny O'Neal in replacement for Billy Edwards. He didn't play horribly, especially in a spot where he was not expected to play. He was not expecting to get many snaps against Miami of Ohio, at least not in the first half. But he did all right. You're telling me a team with all this talent, who's really good defensively, is not going to shut down Middle Tennessee? Guys, Middle Tennessee won't score. They're not. Wisconsin's got a good defense, and Jacksonville State's offense, albeit very different from Middle Tennessee, is better than Middle Tennessee's. What, Nicholas Viato starting for the Blue Raiders? Okay. They couldn't throw the ball for crap. He goes 15 for 36 on his passing attempts in week 1. 2 touchdowns, great. Couldn't run the ball, couldn't throw the ball. What are you doing? Blown out at home by an FCS school. Down 14-0 in the first quarter to an FCS school. Down 21-0 in the second quarter to an FCS school. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Okay? 18,000 people showed up to Middle Tennessee and watched that, to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Wisconsin has to score 28 points. Because the Blue Raiders are not scoring. Do you believe Wisconsin can score 28 points? If the answer is yes, take Middle Tennessee. My answer is yes. All right, take Middle Tennessee. Take Wisconsin. My answer is yes. Take Wisconsin. Okay? Wisconsin minus 27.5. I'll be damned if they don't cover this. It's a shocking line, and it's a line to me that probably closes, I don't know, probably closes at like 42. No, it can't. That's too much. Probably closes at like 33.5, I think. I think people are going to play this line. I don't think Danny O'Neal really changes it too much. Yeah, he's no Billy Edwards. It's not like Billy Edwards was elite. He should be able to manage. Wisconsin blows him out. Okay, next graphic. Let's move. Here we go. Another graphic here. A lot of games, obviously. Let's keep going. Ohio, West Virginia is our first one. Virginia's a 2.5 point dog. No, 2.5 point favorite, at Ohio. So only 2.5 points. They're favored in Athens, Ohio. Little surprising. Like last week, just kind of an odd spot. Like you normally wouldn't expect a Big 12 school to go to Ohio. And I get it. Ohio had a really good year last year. Parker Navarro, maybe the best quarterback in the MAC, is another one of these like elite group of 5 quarterbacks that we talk about. Hell, Navarro last week against Rutgers, 239 yards passing and 93 yards on the ground. And we talked earlier about this Ohio-Rutgers game and how impressive, right, the Bobcats were. And because Rutgers defense again just allowed them to basically just get rolled over. West Virginia, they're a good team. They weren't good last year. They're a good team in comparison to the rest of the MAC, though. Like, again, is West Virginia going to do damage in the Big 12? No. Okay, I'm looking at West Virginia's schedule right now. There's not many games in the Big 12 that I think they win. I think they will be competitive at Houston, because I'm not sold on Houston this year. I think they'll be competitive. Oh, goodness. They might win this week and not win again for the rest of the year. It's just, that's the spot West Virginia's in. You're not a good team in the Big 12, but relatively speaking, if you were in the MAC, yeah, you're probably winning the entire thing, right? This is how college football works. So, West Virginia starting Nico Marchol, I believe that's how you say his name. Probably not. He's been with WVU for a while, right? Was not the starter last year. He is the starter now. He's a junior. Played a decent game in his first one against Robert Morris. Now, we can't expect much out of the Patriots of Robert Morris or the Colonials. I'm close. Played all right. It was in Morgantown. Again, that's expected though. You beat Robert Morris. You blow him out, but again, Ohio I think was the way more impressive team last week. However, I spent all that time talking about how impressive Ohio was and how Parker Navarro played well. Got the ball to Chase Hendricks with 115 yards receiving. I still think they're not going to beat West Virginia, though. Again, like I just said, West Virginia's probably going 2-10 this season. They probably are. Play the backyard brawl next week. It's at WVU this year. I still don't think it goes well for them. And I think if we get Pitt, by the way, this is all part of an elaborate plan for me. Not like I'm controlling the winners of these games, but I'm hoping everything comes out for us here. Hear me out, guys. WVU beats Ohio. They go on the road and beat Ohio. Okay, great. Then we get the backyard brawl next week. It's destined to be another big game. I mean, it's just the backyard brawl is always a big game since it's been brought back for the second year. We're hoping we get Pitt at, close to even money next week. All part of the plan. We need West Virginia to win this week, and then we need Pittsburgh to beat them in the backyard brawl next week, right? WVU will go to Ohio and win. You're a Big 12 program. Parker Navarro is great. I don't think Parker Navarro alone is going to be able to beat West Virginia. It's so far the biggest test, obviously, WVU's had this season, but it won't be their toughest test, obviously, because, look at the schedule going forward. Ohio, Pitt, Kansas, Utah, BYU, Central Florida, Texas, Houston, Colorado, ASU, Texas Tech. My goodness, that's brutal. Especially for a team, again, that's a Big 12 schedule, yes. Your non-con doesn't help you with Pittsburgh to close your non-con schedule. And those are just straight bloodbaths the rest of the season. Especially, again, you're WVU, and you're not elite for the Big 12. Give me West Virginia to cover and win 2.5 points. Not sold on them, though. They are, again, though, my thing is, they are good enough to beat MAC teams, so they will win this week. On to our next game. Let's go to Florida versus South Florida. The Florida Gators take on the USF Bulls. USF last week with maybe legitimately the most surprising result of the entire... No, Florida State beating Alabama. The second most surprising finish of week 1. At home, they blow out Boise State, the team that was well expected to be the favorite to get out the group of 5 and be in the postseason. That favorite is now the USF Bulls. Has to be. Actually, no, it can't be. They play Florida and Miami in back-to-back weeks. Oh, man. That can't be the favorites. Because, yeah, they could probably win the American. They probably are the best team in the American. That non-conference schedule is insane. Boise, Florida, Miami. Who scheduled that? And then South Carolina State. Wow. Oh, brother. Well, they played Florida. They played Miami last year, so yeah, it makes sense to play them again. Never mind. They're not. Even if they win the American, they're not getting in the playoffs with 2 losses. They'll give it to a 1-loss Boise over them, probably, legitimately. So, anyways, Byron Brown has a really good week 1, right? Byron Brown was the star of that game at Raymond James. Has that huge run. Had 200 passing yards, but Byron Brown has that huge run where he legitimately trucks over 4 guys en route to getting to the end zone. That's a quarterback, too. That's Byron Brown, who, again, senior, he can run. But a guy who, again, has been, I don't know how to put this, a solid college football quarterback. Not a guy, though, I would say, not a guy before last week where I'd give you my list of my favorite group of 5 quarterbacks. I wouldn't put Byron Brown in the top 10. He'd be in the top 20 probably, but not a guy to immediately say, group of 5 quarterbacks who comes to mind, Byron Brown. Like Jake Retzlaff obviously is number 1. Not number 1, but a guy that immediately comes to mind, right? Maddox Madsen, obviously in the top of that list. It's not Byron Brown, the first guy you're putting on it. Parker Navarro, too. Like, those are elite guys, I think, in the group of 5. That, again, I click group of 5. Walker, again, I think could potentially be there, too. Right? Not Byron Brown. Well, he proved that in week number 1. He was great. And obviously he doesn't have the craziest stats. Well, the game wasn't really competitive. UCF put belt to Boise State in that game. The problem is now you have to go to Florida. Florida dominates Long Island, the Sharks. I'll be honest, I kind of didn't remember that Long Island had a football team, and I don't really keep up with FCS football. Sometimes I have to be reminded that the NEC has football. It's one of the worst college basketball conferences. It just is. Like, I couldn't even remember who won the FCS, the NEC last year, and I made college basketball videos every single day. It's just, like, legitimately that conference did not mean anything. Was it Long Island? I know they were ahead a lot in the NEC last year. Was it Albany? It might have been, no. It was Bryant. No, Bryant, for my own good, I'm going to do this real quick. Who won the NEC last year? Because Bryant's in the AM East, right? So, yeah. I knew that. Albany's in the AM East as well, I think. Yeah. At least for football. Conferences for college basketball and college football confuse me sometimes because, like, not all these schools, like, the Big East is obviously not a thing. My point being, okay, sometimes I forget the NEC is football, okay? Long Island loses to Florida 55-0, obviously. There's not much we can take away out of Florida's victory. Guys, DJ Lagway doesn't even lead them in passing in week 1 because obviously the game was over at halftime. DJ Lagway comes out the game and it's 38-0 at the end of the first half. Lagway plays all right. I mean, you can't ask out of more for Lagway. He's playing a bad Long Island team that had 49 yards passing and 38 yards rushing. They didn't even have 90 total yards in that game. Damn. That's brutal. So obviously Florida blows them out. You go from that to a team that's actually going to test you, and a good team at that in USF. Guys, I took all that time thinking about, the NEC and Long Island just to get you to this point where I'm taking USF to cover. Am I taking them to win? Nah, I can't do that. Can't do that at all. I'm taking them to cover, though. I think they should be able to do it. I like Byron Brown a lot after last week. He ran hard, played a very efficient game. I'd be surprised, again, if Florida just straight blows them out, especially with all these points that USF's getting, plus 18.5. Okay, this is a team that right now is considered to be, one of the best group of 5 teams. If you care, the basketball win in the NEC was St. Francis. Why did I forget that? Because St. Francis won that game 46-63 and then went into the tournament and lost in the first 4. Again, it's just games that you forget happen. Oh, they lost to Alabama State. Right. We had Alabama State money line. Regardless, I'm taking USF on the spread. That's enough of NEC basketball. I got really off track there. I apologize. Taking USF plus 18.5. I think Byron Brown's really good. I know how good DJ Lagway is. I know how talented Florida is, obviously. They are a talent-rich program. USF's going to play really good football this week. I think so. I think Florida wins, obviously, but I do believe USF keeps it competitive. Next up, let's go to the Battle of Arkansas. As we have got the Arkansas Razorbacks taking on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Game is being played away from Fayetteville. We are in Little Rock, Arkansas for this game. Okay. I didn't know that they do this. Sorry, I'm not an Arkansas historian here. Okay, I guess this is I'm looking at Wikipedia right now. This is the final game Arkansas has scheduled in Little Rock post 2025. Well, from here on out, they don't have any more games scheduled. Okay. I guess they just play randomly here, I guess. I don't know. I think, okay, from what I'm getting here is that Arkansas plays other in-state teams usually in Little Rock at War Memorial Stadium. Even though I know they played Pine Bluff last year, and that was the game that they had to shorten it because they were winning by so much, and that was in Fayetteville. But whatever. Apparently they played Pine Bluff there in 2021. Okay. Arkansas State goes on the road to Arkansas. This is what I was talking about earlier, right? With dumbed down examples, or watered down examples, obviously, with Bowling Green and Cincinnati. Michigan State versus Western Michigan. This is the example of in-state schools play each other. The elite program is, hosting a group of 5 or a lower level team. The team, Arkansas, the better squad, the Power 4 squad, the blue chip program, will destroy the mighty underdogs. It's like when Ohio State is going to play Ohio next week, or when Ohio State plays anybody in the state of Ohio. When they played Akron last year, they beat them like 66-0. It's just what happens. Because there's a sense of pride on these teams, and this is why 21.5 is ridiculous, by the way. And trust me, I like Jalen Raynor. I think Jalen Raynor is, again, one of those guys. Talk about best group of 5 quarterbacks. Oh, he's one of them. But I'll tell you why I'm so confident in Arkansas blowing this team out. Okay? You get to a point again where there is pride in the fact that Arkansas coaching staff, Arkansas players, you don't want to lose to a bunch of guys who, again, if you're the players, were not recruited as highly as you are, obviously. They're not the 4 and 5 stars that went to Arkansas. 4 stars to go to Arkansas. I don't think they get too many 5 stars. They're not the high-level guys. You're 4 and 3 stars and some 5 stars at Arkansas, or some 5-star bounce backs. Okay, you're taking a bunch of 2 stars, 3 stars, and whatnot. Low-level 3 stars and 2 stars and 1 stars at Arkansas State. There's a sense of pride on Arkansas. You don't lose to the in-state Red Wolves. You don't lose to them. Yeah, they looked decent last week. I think Jalen Raynor is great. I think so. I think again, very good quarterback. Their defense is a little shaky for me. Southeastern Missouri State had the lead at one point, and albeit in the second quarter against Arkansas State. But the Red Hawks put up 24 points on Arkansas. And sure, 14 of those came in very, very big garbage time. Just don't like that. I just don't. Okay. 24 points against that team is just, Jalen Raynor is good. He is. 345 yards last week, 3 touchdowns. Again, that's an elite quarterback in the group of 5 level. What does Arkansas have? An even better quarterback, obviously. And that's no hit, obviously, on Raynor because, I mean, is he expected to be Taylor Green? No, he's not. But Taylor Green's really efficient, and he's good, right? Taylor Green is a good quarterback for Arkansas. I don't expect the Razorbacks to have much trouble this week. I just don't. You're at home. Well, no, you're not. I don't know where Little Rock is in comparison to Fayetteville. I'll be honest with you. I've never been to Arkansas. But you're at home, or at least it's going to be your home crowd. It's a sellout. A sellout is expected, and Taylor Green is somewhat of an elite quarterback in college football. I don't know what the future holds for Arkansas this year. I don't know if this is a team that's going to go all that far. Probably not, because they play in the loaded SEC. But when you play a team like Arkansas State, again, there's a sense of pride in the coaching staff, the fans, and the players. We don't let this in-state team get close to us, okay? Arkansas State minus 21.5 is a bargain line, I believe. Arkansas wins it by at least 30 points. Yes, Raynor is good. He has to face an SEC defense. I think the very limited success that Arkansas State's going to have is going to be because of him. Just as a whole, though, and in the end, Arkansas is just way too overpowering for Arkansas State. Give me the Razorbacks to take care of business at home or in Little Rock, wherever that is in comparison to Fayetteville. Give me Arkansas Razorbacks to win minus 21.5. Okay. Next up, I said I had something to say. I messed up last week with the Missouri State Bears, and I did. I didn't talk about Missouri State and USC. I didn't. Because I kind of just forgot Missouri State was an FBS school. I apologize. Okay, I just kind of skipped over that one and went like, oh, okay. The USC, they were like minus 49.5 point favorites. So I kind of just skipped over it because, Missouri State, I've been used to them being an FCS school and a team, obviously, in college basketball as well that plays in the, I'm blanking. Oh my goodness. They were very irrelevant in basketball this year. But anyways, this is a team that they don't play in a group of 5, comparative conference in college basketball. They play in what conference are they in? Oh, they're in the CUSA now. Last year they were in the, oh my goodness, the one with Indiana State, the Sycamores. They're in the Missouri Valley, right? Missouri Valley is not a FBS conference. It's an FCS conference, obviously, right? Northern Iowa, Murray State, Belmont, Drake. Again, I got to get back in the college basketball swinging a little bit in a couple months here. I'm on full baseball and college football mode right now. But regardless, we don't pick Missouri State USC. The one game I missed. USC beats them 73-13. It's an absolute blowout. And yes, is USC Southern California? Obviously. Well, my point being, they're an elite program. Jaden Maivia had a very good game. There's a reason they pushed Miller Moss out, because they wanted Jaden Maivia. And Maivia finished the year really well last year. Missouri State, not trying to be harsh, and this is not reactionary because of their week 1 game. They were up 3-0 at one point. So good on them. They lost the game 13-73. They have legitimately probably the worst roster in the FBS this year. Middle Tennessee's bad. I don't know if they're that bad. Kent State's really bad. I don't know. Missouri State's really bad, dude. They're starting Jacob Clark. Since I didn't get to talk about Missouri State last week, I'll talk about them a little bit right now. Starting Jacob Clark, who's a 6'5 senior from Rockwall, Texas. Okay. Again, former Minnesota product, actually. He started in college football in 2019. That's crazy, dude. I get it. It's a tough task against USC, and you get a much lesser team this week in the Marshall Thundering Herd. I don't care. And by the way, Marshall covered last week, too, so shout out to them. 39.5 point favorites they covered, or 39.5 point dogs they cover in Athens. But I don't care that your entire team left for Southern Mississippi, who, by the way, plays in your same conference, which is just a joke, obviously, in the Sun Belt. Marshall's still putting belt to ass on Missouri State. Okay? Marshall is a 10.5 point favorite, which I believe is kind of a discount. I think it is. Zion Turner is the starting quarterback. Does he have a good week 1 against Georgia? No. They really tried to keep the ball on the ground a lot. Zion Turner does all right. 6 for 7 for 100 yards. Okay. They couldn't run the ball worth a damn. Shocker. You're playing Georgia. You're playing now. You go from elite of elite in college football to a Missouri State team who's bottom of the barrel in college football, who's playing their second ever game. I wonder who wins, and I wonder who covers 10.5. Again, we went over this last week. Marshall's not nearly the same team. They lose their entire squad essentially to Southern Miss. Their coach leaves. Obviously, Braylon Braxton leaves. The quarterback, everyone leaves. You still have a way better roster talent-wise than Missouri State. Missouri State, I don't want to be harsh, is not on the FBS level right now. They will get there eventually because now they're an FBS program. Delaware was much more equipped to be in that position comparatively speaking to Missouri State. I'm taking Marshall. I don't think the game is close. I'm taking the Thundering Herd at home in Huntington, West Virginia. To me, again, it's just not that competitive of a football game. I'm going with the Marshall Thundering Herd minus 10.5. I think Zion Turner's solid. I think he is. They have 3 quarterbacks they played last week. Zion Turner, Ja'Kai Long. I think Ja'Kai Long, did he get the start? I believe he did. But they went to Zion Turner really quickly. No, I think it was Zion Turner, I think. I know people at Marshall are high on Ja'Kai Long, at least what I saw over the offseason. And they have Carlos Del Rio Wilson, too. Zion Turner's their guy. They should blow out Missouri State this week. Missouri State's defense is really bad. Their offense, I wouldn't count on it. Ultimately, guys, the Missouri State Bears are going to have a really tough time in 2025. Oh, they got to play SMU next week? Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's bad. But SMU's going to go there? First ever home game at the FBS level, you get a playoff team. SMU might put up 90 points next week on this defense. That's brutal. Yeah, this game won't be competitive. At Marshall, the Thundering Herd should dominate in West Virginia. Okay, next game, let's move to Army versus K-State. So both teams, 2 teams that have been very disappointing. No way, another way you can slice it. 2 disappointing teams in 2025 so far. One team's 0-1, one team's 1-1, and the other team that is 1-1, the team that is 1-1, Kansas State, I feel like you stole one. And I know, you steal one at home against the North Dakota Falcons. Fighting Hawks, yes. Guys, there was a point in that game, I'm looking at ESPN's win probability, that UND had a 99.9% chance to win the game with 2 minutes left. It had a 99.9% chance to win the game. K-State gets the football back, and they drive it down the field, and they score a touchdown. So, good on Avery Johnson for getting the victory. You didn't even lose to the good North Dakota school. You didn't. UND, a team that's not really... They always get the short end of the stick in athletics, especially in basketball, too. They've never been elite. Like, the good teams in the Summit in basketball, in the Missouri Valley, I believe in college football. They don't play the Missouri Valley, do they? Anyways, the Summit League schools for basketball. The good schools in athletics are usually North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and the South Dakota Coyotes. The Fighting Hawks always get the short end of everything. They don't recruit like the other schools. They got to play Alabama, actually, at North Dakota last year in basketball. It's neither here or there. They're usually not on the same level as these other teams, okay? They had a very good small forward last year. But anyways, who dropped 40 points against Alabama. That's neither here or there. Eagles... What's his name? Trey Eaglestaff? That dude. Again, try not to get too much into college basketball right now. Trayson Eaglestaff was a dog last season, and I think he's back this year. He didn't enter the portal. Crazy stuff. Regardless, that's not a good win, is what I'm getting to. You escaped the jaws of defeat against the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. Nobody should ever go to Dublin, Ireland ever again to play football. It's a death trap. It's a trap. Going into Ireland and playing, and now you got to come back, you got to get readjusted to the time, and we got a home game in 6 days after you come back from Ireland after being out there for a week earlier than everyone else plays. Ooh, nobody's going to sign up to go to Ireland anymore. Nobody will. K-State wins. They should have lost. How about Army? You lose to Tarleton State. Ooh. It's just bad. Bryson Daly's gone. Dwayne Coleman's their starting quarterback. Dwayne Coleman can't really throw the ball that way. He's a really efficient runner. He's not the passer that Daly is or was. Throws 2 picks, and the Tarleton State Texans win the football game. Yikes. Losing in overtime. Double overtime. It's just, it can't happen. Can't happen. Again, Army's not the same team, but I'm still taking them to cover here just because look at K-State right now. You want to say, oh, well, Army lost to an FCS school. Well, K-State, who is much better than Army, at least on paper, better recruiting, obviously. Well, you don't need guys to enlist in the Army to play at K-State. This is just a football school. You can barely beat the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. What? Avery Johnson played all right, I guess. Defense couldn't stop anything. They couldn't move the ball in that second to last drive, and I thought the game was over, but then they got the football back and obviously won. It's not a team you can rely on right now, and for sure it's not a top 25 team. The rankings come out on Tuesday, I assume. The AP rankings after the North Carolina TCU game. Okay. K-State should be nowhere near the rankings. Oh, they lost to Iowa State, who's ranked. Sure, you beat North Dakota by 3 points. And in all fairness, a win is a win. Give them credit. A win is a win is a win. You barely lost. You almost lost to North Dakota. UND. Not NDSU. No. Not the school that, Carson Wentz went to, Trey Lance went to, Easton Stick went to. No, you almost lost to UND. Army's going to keep this game close. Guys, the running attack from Army's going to keep it close. They shorten the game. They run the ball at will. K-State's going to have to get away from them by, 13.5 points? 15.5? Guys, Kansas State could easily win this football game 42-28. No, it won't be that high scoring. They can win this game 31-17. They will not cover. In fact, that's my final score prediction. They win by 14 points. They do not cover. Give me the Army. Give me the Army Black Knights. I think they cover here. Yes, it's Dwayne Coleman, not Bryson Daly. Oh, definitely not. You still have Hayden Reed, who's a very, very efficient running back. You obviously lose your main running back last year to Arizona State. Kanye Udo, which is crazy Arizona, not Arizona State. Which is a crazy adjustment. No, ASU, yeah. Which is a crazy adjustment too. Like, bro goes from the Army to ASU. Like, that is the college experience, I guess, right? I don't know. He didn't play in week 1, basically. But anyways, you lose your star running back to ASU, and now you got to rely on Noah Short, the senior from Kings Academy, California, or went to Kings Academy High School in San Jose, California. He's a senior now. You have Hayden Reed, who's a senior as well. I think they're able to stay competitive. They've got guys. And Dwayne Coleman, if we can hold on the football, at least in terms of interceptions this week, K-State, man, has been so unimpressive in the first couple weeks of the season. I'm taking Army to cover on the road at Kansas State, plus 15.5. Let's move on now to our next game. So I had to guess on the odds here. Because, okay, I'm recording this video I need to get this video out. I'm recording this video 1:28 in the morning on Monday. So obviously this is before North Carolina and Texas Christian. TCU does not play in week number 2. UNC obviously does. So, and obviously it's tough that turnaround from Monday to Saturday is brutal. It is. I had to just kind of guess on the odds here. I think UNC is going to beat Texas Christian. Well, I think they're going to cover 3.5 points. Are they going to win? I don't know. Again, you'll know pretty quickly as soon as this video's out. Regardless of what happens at Chapel Hill on Monday, today, I don't really care. I think North Carolina beats the crap out of Charlotte. And this is a point that I'm going to keep making. And I get it. Chapel Hill's like hour 45? No, a little more. It's like 2:25, I believe. 2:15, 2:25, 2:30-ish away from Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't care. In-state thing. If you're North Carolina, you're not losing to Charlotte. Win or lose against Texas Christian, you're not losing this game. So I think the odds are going to be 27.5. That's what I think the spread's going to be. If it is that, I'm taking North Carolina to cover. Why? Charlotte lost by 23 points on their own home turf to App State. App State's good. AJ Swan played an amazing football game. I don't care. You lost at home by 23 to Appalachian State in the Dukes Mayo Classic. What's going to happen to you when you play an ACC school? The whole thing about Belichick and his 25-year-old girlfriend and their whole reality TV show that is getting filmed. I don't know what's going on. They filed for the trademark Gold Digger. It's weird. It's still football. Bill Belichick, and I said this last week and I'll say it again, I don't know what the result of the Texas Christian game is. Again, I will be playing UNC plus 3.5. I hope they cover. I don't care if they win. I hope they cover. If Bill Belichick has done anything right in life, and this, I'm not trying to get, philosophical here, or just in terms of like, I'm not trying to get deep from a life perspective here. But if Belichick's done anything right in the game of life, it's coach football. And sure, did Brady carry him to some of those titles? He did. Most of them. Most of them were Brady's, but it's okay. Belichick was there for the ride. If there's anything Belichick was put on this earth to do, though, it was coach football. Is there an adjustment period needed coming to the college level, obviously, being with the Patriots for so many years? Obviously. You're not losing to Charlotte, and you're not letting Charlotte be in a competitive game with you. Again, this is a two-way thing, right? And you're taking this game right 5 days after playing TCU, right? That's a short turnaround. You play on Monday night, and you got to turn around for Saturday night. That sucks. That's why Texas Christian's not playing this week, because nobody wants to play the week after playing Monday Night Football, at least in college football. It's different in the NFL. You go 6 days off in the NFL playing Monday night. This is a brutal one, right? Like no NFL team, by the way, would play on a Monday night and then have to play, the Saturday night Christmas game after, right? Like this wouldn't happen. Probably not. I know there's that adjustment period that people talk about. It doesn't matter. You're North Carolina playing at Charlotte, and especially a Charlotte team that was awful last week. Again, I don't have UNC stuff to talk about just yet. I think Gio Lopez is going to be serviceable for them. We will see. Again, we will wait. But I know at Charlotte, they were so inefficient last week. Connor Harrell did not have a good game. 142 yards, a touchdown to pick. They couldn't really run the ball. CJ Stokes did not have a good game. You got dominated by App State. Again, I would have to think Gio Lopez is a better quarterback than AJ Swan, right? AJ Swan threw the ball 46 times, completed 31 of them at 368 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. Their running back had 111 yards as well. Jaden Barnes, their receiver, had 134 yards receiving. I will be damned if UNC doesn't go into Charlotte and destroy them. Again, and it's the whole thing I always talk about. Talked about the Arkansas State, Arkansas. Talked about UNC, this game, obviously, UNC and Charlotte. We talked about it with Cincinnati and Bowling Green. You are the team in the state of North Carolina. Well, there's a lot. There's Duke, there's Wake Forest, there's everyone. North Carolina State. You're UNC. You don't lose to Charlotte. A team that has been around at the FBS level not for even a decade. Come on now. Game's not going to be close. I don't care what version of the Tar Heels we get. They could lose to Texas Christian by 40 points, which they're not. They could lose that game at home 42-0. I'd still take them to cover 28.5 points, okay? Or 27.5 points. In fact, this line would probably be in the 40s. The only reason it's kind of there, though, is because the game's in Charlotte and not in Chapel Hill. Give me UNC on the road at Charlotte. I don't even know why they're going to Charlotte. But, yeah, UNC minus 27.5. Next up, let's go to another similar deal. Houston versus Rice. Now, is Houston the powerhouse that Cincinnati's been in football? That UNC is just in general? That Michigan State is compared to Michigan State? That Arkansas is compared to Arkansas State? No. Houston's not going to Rice and losing this football game, nor are they playing a competitive game. Now, I give Rice a lot of credit. They beat Louisiana last week. I didn't think they were going to beat Louisiana. Didn't think so at all. They really shut down the Louisiana offense. Ben Woldridge is no longer around, obviously. I don't know if he's still with the Patriots practice squad. But you take on Walker Howard in Louisiana, who I was very high on, obviously, right? Former relation to Lane Kiffin's daughter, Walker Howard. I expected a lot of the Raging Cajuns. I was like, all right, well, I don't think Walker Howard's as good as Ben Woldridge, but this is a guy who committed to LSU initially out of high school, went to Ole Miss, was the backup for Jackson Dart, and obviously left to go start his senior season, junior year. I expected a lot of Walker Howard. Walker Howard was horrible against Rice. 10 for 22 passing, 88 yards and an interception. What are we doing? They could not run the ball. Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns could not do anything. This is the same team that won the Sun Belt last year with Ben Woldridge actually out at quarterback. He was injured the second half of the year. This was a good football team last year. What happened? Well, they got killed in the portal. And when you lose an NFL-level guy in Ben Woldridge, they didn't win the Sun Belt. They lost it to Marshall. They were right there, though. Marshall loses their team right after. But anyways, you do that with a backup quarterback. You got to the Sun Belt Championship. Then you lose to Rice in week 1? Anyways, good win for Rice. You score 14 points, though. And your quarterback, Chase Jenkins, throws for 45 yards. They're a run-first team. They are the definition of a run-first squad. Quentin Jackson, no, not Rampage. The college Quentin Jackson. Hopefully Quentin Jackson's son doesn't slam a professional wrestler on his head and then throw 33 unanswered shots to his skull. But anyways, this Quentin Jackson out of Fort Worth, Texas, who's 5'7", 160 pounds, ran the ball 22 times against Louisiana and had 119 yards. Dalen Alexander ran it 15 times, had 74 yards. I don't know how far that takes you, though, against Houston. I know Houston's not some powerhouse. They're not. This is not basketball, right? There's no elite basketball players. They don't have elite players on their football team, obviously, like they do in basketball, right? You're not blowing out Rice. Because here's the thing, too. That run game's great against other Group of 5 teams. That's not taking that's not taking you anywhere against power schools, which, again, I don't know why Houston's going to go to Rice. I don't get that. They're starting Connor Wiegman, right, who used to play at Texas A&M, got some starts for the A&M over the years, for the Aggies over the years. Obviously, Marcel Reed's a starter, so there's no future for him there. It's his junior year. Did have a great game in week 1, but they didn't really need him to be great because they were blowing out Stephen F. Austin. Game was only a 27-point victory, but you're Houston going on the road to Rice. You're going to blow this team out. Also, by the way, Stephen F. Austin, they tried to run the ball, and they couldn't do it. And that's all the offense Rice has. If Rice is forced into a game where they need their quarterback in Chase Jenkins to be elite and be the guy to provide them with the victory and the guy to lead them to victory, they're in a rough spot because he just can't do that, okay? He is a run-first guy, okay? And they are a run-first offense at Rice. They've been a run-first offense since E.J. Warner left, which hasn't been that long, obviously. It's been a year, been 2 games. But that's what they are. They're a run-first team right now, okay? They've got good running backs. Look at what Stephen F. Austin did last week against Houston. And I get it, Stephen F. Austin, FCS school. But in total, they had 25 carries for 39 yards. Yikes. There are 2 running backs. There are 3 running backs. 5 carries, 16 yards. 5 carries, 15 yards. 6 carries, 14 yards. How is Rice going to run on Houston? They're not. We just need Connor Wiegman to be decent in this game. Houston should blow Rice out. And 12.5 points for Houston is downright disrespectful. Okay? There are exceptions. The elite Group of 5 teams, I understand. Last week, and we had put on the best bets. We loved Tulane at home against Northwestern to cover. It was an easy cover. Shout out to Jake Retzlaff, right? You can have premarital sex all you want at Tulane, right? There are spots where we love that for Group of 5 teams. This is not it. Rice is not an elite program. They're not going to win this game at home, nor will they get close. Houston will blow them out, trust me. What happens now? Okay, Rice played a competitive game last week. It was a close game throughout against Louisiana. Okay, and Louisiana's offense was horrible. What happens when you're down 21 points this week? Or what happens when you go down 14-0 and this run game's not going? You're going to get stuck throwing the football with a team that can't really throw the ball that well. They're screwed, okay? They're screwed. Houston will win, and they will cover, not to be harsh, 12.5 points. Again, this is a dominant performance out of the Houston Cougars. Next up, let's go to a future MAC game. Western Kentucky's not in the MAC just yet. They will be next year. CUSA versus MAC, Toledo versus Western Kentucky. Arguably the best the MAC's got versus the best the CUSA's got. I don't know. We'll see what Toledo does for the rest of the year. They had a decent game last week against Kentucky. Struggled with the run, like expected. Calzada doesn't have the best return to SEC football, but it's okay. Calzada's, he'll be back. Zach Calzada will be back against Ole Miss this week, and we'll talk about that in a second. I don't know how well that's going to go for them. Anyways, Toledo takes on Western Kentucky. So this is a game that's going to be a MAC game starting next season. Western Kentucky is joining the Mid-American Conference, a conference that has been relatively untouched throughout the entirety of conference realignment in college football. Unfortunately, again, that's going to change next season, which I don't think it's a bad thing, by the way, that they added WKU. Okay, Toledo got ran all over last week. Dante Dowdwell had 130 yards and 14 carries. Seth McGowan had 78 yards on 18 carries against Toledo. They got ran all over. Calzada only has 85 passing yards. There's not much Toledo did last week in terms of stopping the Kentucky Wildcats. You face WKU this week, a team that is very good. They dominate Sam Houston in week 1, and last week a dominant performance at home against North Alabama. Maverick McVore, 305 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's better than Caden Vetkamp. He is. He's better than TJ Finley too, I think. First 2 weeks in the Maverick experience here in WKU in Bowling Green, Kentucky has been excellent. 706 yards, 8 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Oh, we are looking at the best quarterback in the CUSA. We are. He was great at the FCS level. You bring him now to a very good CUSA school, he's in a great spot. He was good last year, really good last year at Albany and Christian. They're 5.5-point dogs at Toledo. I don't see it. Tucker Gleason's good. Again, this is another guy, really good at Group of 5 quarterback. He's got weapons. I don't think Toledo's 5.5 points better than Western Kentucky. I don't mind Western Kentucky's spread here, or money line here. I'm going to play the spread. I'm telling you, though, look at this offense right now at WKU. We thought they were good last year at vet camp. Oh, they are even better now. They're even better. They found a gem of a quarterback from the FCS level. They did. I like Maverick quite a bit. Again, I know Toledo got, really hurt last week with the run game of Kentucky, but that's an SEC school, Calzada can really throw the ball, but again, there's always going to be an adjustment period for Calzada going from FCS right to the SEC and taking on a MAC school, sure, but Toledo's a good defense. I think Western Kentucky's got a better offense. KD Hutchinson last week, 5 catches, 113 yards. Again, Maverick McFlure is a very good quarterback. I believe Western Kentucky's going to win this football game. Definitely they will cover. I think Tucker Gleason's good. I think Toledo's good. I'm taking WKU here with the points, plus 5.5 over in Toledo, Ohio, at the Glass Bowl. Next up, let's go to Georgia State versus Memphis over in Atlanta, Georgia. Memphis is a 13.5-point favorite in this game. We expect them to cover. We do. Georgia State got dominated last week. Austin Simmons, he is the truth. He is the truth. Again, we'll talk about Austin Simmons versus Zach Calzada with the featured games later in the video. Georgia State gets stomped last week. To no one's surprise, they get stomped over in Mississippi. They lose the game 63-7. Again, Austin Simmons is the heir apparent, obviously. He's the next in line to Jackson Dart here at Mississippi. But Georgia State doesn't, they did nothing last week, right? They couldn't get going. Christian Velix goes 4 for 11 throwing the football at the touchdown. Yikes. It just, nothing went well for Georgia State. So now you turn that into, okay, we're back at home for the first time of the season, and we're taking on a good Memphis team, a really good Memphis team, a team last week in the Memphis Tigers who got to play Chattanooga, their in-state rivals, and they completely blew them out, right? Again, Chattanooga, FCS school, but Memphis wins that game 45-10. Chattanooga's only points really come in the fourth quarter. Brandon Lewis, first start as the Memphis quarterback, does all right, 199 yards passing. He's manageable, right? Former Nevada guy, played at Colorado. He's been in college football for 6 years now. It's not a bad system for him. It's a system where he's going to be able to run, and they're going to let him run a lot more than they did at Nevada. Right? Got benched at one point in the year, or got hurt and benched for Chuba Purdy. Memphis, again, is one of those teams that you look at as the elite group of 5 teams and a team that potentially can go to the postseason out of the group of 5. Just a team like that will go into Georgia State and destroy them. What does Georgia State do well? I think run the ball. I think Christian Velix in his senior season, former Penn State guy, had really found his role, obviously, here at Georgia State. Just not a quarterback that's going to win a game for you. That sounds harsh, but it's the facts. Last season at Georgia State, Velix had 13 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Threw for 2,000 yards, but not an extremely efficient quarterback. Has a bad week 1, and sure, that's over at Ole Miss. That's expected. It's an SEC school. I just don't think we're expecting that many better results, though, this week against Memphis. Because Memphis, again, they could easily be in the ACC. This is a team that could easily play at the ACC level. They could be, are they going to the Pac-12? And there's rumblings that I don't know if that's happening. This is a team that could be in the Power 5. Okay? They have the talent to do so. They've had talent throughout the years. I mean, I said it before last year, there's the college player a college player that I loved watching. I always think about my favorite college football players. Darrell Henderson Jr. at Memphis. This is a team that's always had an explosive run game and always had an explosive offense. They're going to run it up this week on Georgia State, just like they did last week against Chattanooga. I'd expect Memphis to dominate the Georgia State Panthers. Give me Memphis to win this game and to cover the 13.5 points as well. Next up, we go to the Sun Belt versus the AAC, or the American Conference, as South Alabama takes on Tulane. What a victory for Tulane last week. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but teams that could potentially get out of the group of 5 and be the group of 5 representative in the college football playoffs, Tulane is one of them. Jake Retzlaff. That's what we thought. He just needed to get the starting job, and he got it. There was question marks going into the week. We were unsure who the starting quarterback was going to be. Retzlaff has only been here for about a month, maybe even less. Again, the whole situation at Brigham Young. He's here at Tulane, and I'm telling you, this is the best team in the American. USF, sure, Tulane's pretty solid. And you add a guy in Jake Retzlaff, who was pretty good at the Big 12 level last year. BYU was a game away from going to the Big 12 championship game. Yeah. This is a good quarterback. BYU was top 10 for most of the season last year. Jake Retzlaff was at the helm. First game as a Tulane Green Wave quarterback, as the quarterback for the Tulane Green Wave. 150 passing yards, but he really does his damage on the ground. Jake Retzlaff has 113 yards rushing and a touchdown. Preston Stone and Northwestern, it was a brutal game for them. The former Southern Methodist quarterback threw 4 interceptions. Yeah, it was brutal, okay? But Jake Retzlaff is that guy, and he is that leader for Tulane. And Tulane's got a very good defense. If they're able to do that against Northwestern, who, again, is a bad Big Ten school, I get it. They're at the bottom of the barrel of the Big Ten. If they're able to do that, though, against Northwestern, what are they going to do against South Alabama? A South Alabama team that doesn't have their quarterback anymore in Gio Lopez, right? Gio Lopez is gone. They instead, right, we talked about we didn't talk about South Alabama. It's Bishop Davenport now. Okay, Bishop Davenport was here last year, wasn't the starter, got some spots, but he's the backup. He's a junior. He's no Gio Lopez. He's not. He's a decent quarterback, but not a guy that's going to win you games. The guy who's going to win South Alabama games this year, I believe, is Kentrell Bullock. Bullock last week ran for 127 yards on the ground. He was very good. He is a guy who was recruited to go play at Ole Miss. He's found his footing, and he's been a very good running back in the Mid-American level. Sorry, at the Sun Belt level, for the South Alabama Jaguars. It's a tough game against Tulane because Tulane's going to shut down your run game. They're going to shut down your pass game. It's just this is a levels game. That's the simplest way I can put it. This is levels. There are levels within the group of 5, and Tulane is on the highest level. And guys, they were already on quite a high level before Retzlaff got here, but now you add legitimately the best group of 5 quarterback. Yeah, it's over. It's over. Tulane's winning the American this year. I think they're going to the playoffs. I'd be surprised if they don't. And that's because, again, Retzlaff is only going to get better as the season goes on. He is. And they have a tough non-con. They've done that for a reason. Right now, who are you taking? Tulane or Duke at Tulane? Probably taking Tulane. They probably won't go to Ole Miss and win. 11-1 with their only loss being Ole Miss gets them in the playoffs, obviously. 12-1, winning their conference. 12-1 with the loss at Ole Miss gets you in. Boise last year lost at Oregon, still got in the playoffs, obviously. Tulane will get in at 12-1 with their only loss being at Ole Miss, okay? Retzlaff is that good. I think they're going to be competitive against Ole Miss. I think they are. I think they're going to be really competitive at Ole Miss in a couple weeks. Will they win? Probably not. But Jake Retzlaff is that good. That defense is very good, and they got weapons around him as well. I love Tulane in the spot. They will absolutely destroy South Alabama. I don't care that the game is being played in Mobile, Alabama. This is an easy cover here for Tulane. Only 10.5 is great. Give me the Tulane Green Wave to cover on the road at South Alabama. Let's move on now to our next game. We're on to the 4:30 time slot. Let's go. We're making our way through. We still have the featured games after this. This has been a very long video. This is probably going to break the record for the longest video for college football videos. But let's move. They're only going to get longer as the season goes on. We might end the year making like 4-hour videos. My goodness. I was not planning on that, but it is what it is. Hope you guys enjoy. LSU, Louisiana Tech. I'm actually not going to spend that much time on this game, just because I have no reason to spend much time on the game. Shout out to the Louisiana State Tigers. Am I an LSU fan? No, okay. I'm a Washington Nationals fan. Dylan Cruz is my favorite player. Love Louisiana State baseball, okay. Shout out Kate Anderson. I like LSU baseball, okay. I'm not an LSU football fan at all. LSU beats Clemson last week. So we picked LSU. They win the game, obviously. I'm high on Garrett Newsommer still. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's got the second best odds to win the Heisman. Actually, no, I think he's got the best odds to win the Heisman right now. It's him, Lenora Sellers, then Carson Beck, if I'm not mistaken. Sure. Good pocket passer. Really good pocket passer. He can launch it. We've known that. They get La Tech this week. Again, LSU wins the game when it matters. They score 17 points, but again, that's all that they need. Defense really locked down, which tells me Louisiana Tech's not scoring this week. Guys, La Tech scored 24 points against Southeastern Louisiana. Somewhere lying around, I have a ban list. I last year legitimately printed out a ban list of teams I would never bet on. La Tech football is on that. La Tech football is on it. Like USD basketball is on it. The New Orleans Pelicans were on it. La Tech is one of those squads. High Point University, even though I eventually took them off the ban list, right? Like that's what we refused to bet on those schools last year. La Tech's an embarrassment. They are. They're so horrible, okay? Did they get better in the offseason? Kinda. They went from Bullock was a quarterback last year. Is Trey Kukik now this year? His name's not Cuck. Trey Kukic. Not a guy that's going to wow you. Guys, La Tech's they're so bad offensively. They're so horrible. And that's just the thing about the bottom of the CUSA. It's them. It's Middle Tennessee. It's Missouri State. The bottom of the CUSA, Kennesaw State. It is such low-level football. I don't want to be harsh because, again, these are Division I players. These are Division I schools. You just compare it even to the rest of the CUSA. You compare these squads to a Western Kentucky. You compare these squads to, I know I've been harsh on UTEP this season, and I will be there in the video. Actually, no, they don't play today. But I've been harsh on these teams. You compare them to Western Kentucky, UTEP, and Jack State, and I guess Liberty. It's not close. It's different levels of football. La Tech scores 24 points on Southeastern Louisiana. Shout out to the Lions. They were great for us in basketball this season in the Southland Conference. But, like, come on now. Really? You win by 24 points, and this was a 3-0 game at halftime. La Tech does not do anything well. LSU does everything well. La Tech will not score in this game. So, again, the question I propose to you, can Louisiana State score 6 touchdowns? The answer to that question is yes. Give me Louisiana State to cover against La Tech, minus 37.5. Move on to another big spread game, and hear me out. I'll just say it right now. I'm taking Ball State to cover against Auburn. I am. I'm taking the Ball State Cardinals to cover against the Auburn Tigers. I think they will be able to do it, and I get it. Ball State last week played the Battle of Indiana. There's multiple teams in Indiana, obviously. I guess. Hey, the Hoosiers are number 1 now because of Notre Dame's loss. Anyways, Ball State plays Purdue last week. Ball State goes from Muncie, I believe, Muncie, Indiana, to Champaign, my goodness, West Lafayette. They lose 31-0 to Purdue. It's just a straight blowout. Ryan Brown played a really good game for the Boilermakers. It's probably the only game Purdue's going to win all year long just because, nope, they play South Illinois this week. It's, the 1 of 2 games that they're going to win all season. They might beat Northwestern. No, they go on the road. They'll lose that game, right? Purdue's not a good football team, okay? I don't care. Oh, they look better. They added in the portal. Oh, they had a decent recruiting class. It's Purdue. It's Purdue. Come on now. All the attention's on basketball still at that school, okay? Indiana leveled up, all right? No, actually, they said basketball, get out of here. Mike Woodson's gone, though. But, no, it's crazy, right? Indiana became the football school, even though Purdue's never been a football school either. I digress. The Boilermakers beat Ball State 31-0, okay? Kyle Kelly doesn't play a great game, but, no one played a great game for Ball State. It's a whole nother level of bad, and I get it. Oh, it's a Big Ten school. It is. It's a whole another level of bad when you just get embarrassed by Purdue. I don't know. A team that just can't score. They can now, because I will give Ryan Brown credit. He's a good quarterback. But you can't get embarrassed by that much by Purdue. I am still taking them to cover against Auburn because I feel like this line is too adjusted. I don't know. I feel like it's way too big of a line. It is. 43.5 points. They can win by 6 touchdowns and they won't cover. Auburn goes to Waco. They beat Baylor. I didn't think it was going to happen. They go to Baylor. They go to Baylor, to Waco. They win. Sawyer Robertson throws for 419 yards. His team loses the game. It is what it is. Auburn, Jackson Arnold had a great football game. And I'm glad Auburn's not doing that crap that we thought they were going to do with it. They're going to, at least, again, that was smoke and mirrors, right? But, we're going to play 3 quarterbacks. We're going to play Jackson Arnold. We're going to play Ashton Daniels. We're going to play everybody. We're going to have different play callers. They obviously didn't do that. That's fine. They're a good football team. I don't know if they can score 49 points in a football game, though. 45, I guess, 6 touchdowns and a field goal. That's a lot of points to ask out of any team. Ball State, I know they're not good. They probably can't move the ball at all. They probably won't score. Probably won't. I think they lose the game 42-0. They lose the game 42-0. We're fine. We get the classic Miami of Ohio cover, where they lost 17-0, but they still covered the football game at Wisconsin. That's what I think we get this week out of Ball State. Is Ball State an impressive bunch? No. Same time, guys, Sawyer Robertson threw for 420 yards against this defense. 420 yards against Auburn. You're telling me Ball State can't score 1 touchdown? Oh, they didn't score against Purdue. How are they going to be able to score against Auburn? Different matchups, different nights. Again, the teams aren't thinking about, we need to cover and win by 44 points. Auburn's thinking about, okay, how do we get Ashton Daniels in the game after Jackson Arnold, obviously leads us to victory? How do we get our backups in once we're up 35-0? They don't care about the spread. Now, Ball State doesn't probably care about the spread either, but I think they're going to be competitive. Shout out Norfolk State's basketball coach for being the college basketball coach last year in the NCAA tournament who cared about covering the spread in a basketball game. It was insane. Team loses by 27 points. Spread was plus 28.5. He gets in the press conference and says, how about that spread? Crazy. I know who was gambling that night. But shout out to him. Anyways. Yeah, I think Ball State can cover, right? Plus 43.5. Oh my goodness. Next up, let's go to Lincoln, Nebraska. Dylan Raiola and the Nebraska Cornhuskers take on the Akron Zips, okay? Akron's losing by 49 points. They are. I know what I just said. 44 points is a lot for a team to lose by. Oh, it is. Akron's worse than Ball State. They are, okay? For as much as I just harped on Purdue and, you can't lose to Purdue, you can't get stomped by Purdue, Akron scored 0 points against Wyoming. Who I don't think is going to be elite this season. I think that Caden Anderson can be okay. I'm disappointed in Ben Finley. Guys, Ben Finley couldn't throw the ball over 5 yards in week number 1 on Thursday night. Couldn't. They could not move the ball at all against Wyoming. Their run game, atrocious. Pass game, atrocious. They were in the game and the entire way. We had plus 5.5 on Akron. We had plus 5.5. And they couldn't cover it. They were covering it the entire game until 4 minutes left, and then Wyoming scored a touchdown to win it, or to cover, obviously. They went up 10-0 in Akron. They got their drive at the end of the game. Couldn't score, okay? I'm not betting on LeBron's hometown school anymore. I'm not doing it. And we're taking Nebraska to blow them out. Why? Nebraska faced a decent defense last week, okay? Say what you want about Cincinnati. It's a decent defense. Dylan Raiola, again, I will keep saying this, I actually think Dylan Raiola is quite good. I think so. I think he's a serviceable college football quarterback. He was a freshman last year. He was 19 years old. And yes, he was doing the Mahomes pump up and everything. He mimics Mahomes in every single motion that he does. It's kind of scary, okay? If his girl looks like Brittany Mahomes, it's going to be really scary. Anyways, he's a good college football quarterback, especially in a sophomore season. Look what he does last week, again, against Cincinnati. 250 yards, throws the ball 47 times. Matt Rule's the head coach. Again, I oddly kind of believe in Matt Rule quite a bit. Again, is Nebraska going to make huge noise in the Big Ten? No. Are they going to be bowl eligible? Probably. I mean, look at their schedule. They're going to win their first 3 games. They play Houston Christian next week. They're going to probably beat UCLA. They'll beat Northwestern. They can probably beat Minnesota as well. Probably beat Iowa too. They're a middle-of-the-pack Big Ten team. And, for some schools, that's good enough. Akron is bad, okay? Akron can't score. And the difference between Akron and Ball State, I believe this week, Ball State, again, look how many yards Sawyer Robertson threw for Baylor against Auburn. There is some hope, I believe. A little bit of hope for Ball State to score something at Auburn. Akron couldn't score in their own game, and Nebraska held Brendan Sorbsy last game for Cincinnati. They couldn't throw the ball, could the Bearcats. What is Akron going to do? What is Ben Finley going to do? He'll do none, okay? He'll do nothing. I'm taking Nebraska Cornhuskers spread minus 34.5. And the difference between this game, too, and Auburn, okay? If Auburn's 34.5 point favorite against Ball State, I'd probably take it. Probably do. Nebraska needs to score 5 touchdowns because Akron's not going to score. Nebraska's scoring 5 touchdowns this week. I'm taking the Cornhuskers minus 34.5. Next up, let's go to Southern California. USC takes on Georgia Southern. Did not get to talk about USC last week again because I screwed up. I was supposed to talk about their game between them and Missouri State, and hindsight's 2020. But I was going to take USC probably to cover against Missouri State, just because why would I take Missouri State to go cover on the road in Los Angeles in their first ever FBS game against USC of all teams? Anyways, I can say I did that all. I can say I would have, should have, coulda. It is what it is. USC, Georgia Southern here in week 2. So I assume, I don't know entirely what's going on in Georgia Southern. I assume they're probably just staying in California. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're not. Just played at Fresno, lost. Got embarrassed. Competitive game early, but kind of went the way I thought it was going to. Actually, not really. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than it actually was. I know about Georgia Southern. Watched them last year. We were sold on their explosive offense, especially after their, competitive game last year against Boise State, where Ashton Genty ran for 200-something yards. Yet, J.C. French and Georgia Southern was very competitive. They weren't competitive against Fresno. They were competitive in the first half, right? That game goes into half, and they're actually winning 14-13. Fresno then puts 29 consecutive points on them. Obviously, they lose, right? It was a second half takeover by Fresno State. My point with all this is Fresno can have their way with the run game. We talked about it earlier. EJ Warner still concerns me. I don't know what to expect out of EJ Warner at the pass game. He's not an elite passer in my mind just yet. Well, not close to that. I don't know if he's a guy who can, again, adapt to that Fresno system and do what Mikey Keene did and do what Derek Carr used to do. Obviously, he's not on the level of those guys, right? I don't even know if he's on the level of Logan Fife, right? Like, I don't know. USC's going to have no problem running the ball. They're going to have no problem throwing the ball, right? We saw the success Fresno had running the ball against Georgia Southern. EJ Warner struggled, but that wasn't because, look how great the Georgia Southern defense is. That was just because EJ Warner wasn't having a good game. Jaden Maivia, who, again, I wasn't incredibly sold on. I'm still not. Just because, you beat Missouri State. I still think potentially Miller Moss is better, and I get it. Miller Moss's week one wasn't very good either. Well, no, it was. Jaden Maivia had a good week one. Miller Moss didn't have a good week one. Maivia is going to destroy this team, though. He's going to. Georgia Southern is not that good of a squad. You're on the road for the second straight week. Again, I would assume you're staying out there just because maybe you don't, but I assume you just stay out in California for a whole week. Maybe you go back, but that's just a lot of travel, especially for Georgia Southern. It's just odd scheduling, too. Why would you schedule 2 West Coast games and California games in back-to-back weeks? I don't know. Just a lot goes against Georgia Southern here. And the fact that they're only 27.5-point dogs is really confusing to me. You lose to Fresno by 28 points. Why are you only 28-point dogs in LA against USC? Come on now. Taking the Trojans. This is an easy one. Jaden Maivia and the guys destroyed Georgia Southern. JC French did not have a good first game of the season. Yeah, he'll be better as we get into conference play, obviously, in the Fun Belt, Sun Belt. But USC dominates today here at home, on Saturday at home. USC wins and covers the 27.5 points. That's a bad line, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of favorites are getting a little undersold this week. I don't know. Speaking of favorites, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Wow. Losing last week to Florida State, 31-17. Apparently, Thomas Castellanos is selling Nick Can't Save Them shirts about Alabama now. That's hilarious. The Alabama dynasty and, their legacy's not gone. The dynasty's over, guys. And you heard this a million times throughout, the Brady Belichick era in New England. And I guess we can kind of compare Alabama to what, Belichick and Brady built in New England. It's what Saban obviously built here in Tuscaloosa. It's done, man. It is. It was always weird. I saw the cracks in the armor last season, right? And Alabama was a team that probably should have made the playoffs. Actually, no. They shouldn't have made the playoffs. They had a case to be in the playoffs. The case, and it was definitely rightfully so. SMU got in over them. However, we saw the cracks in the armor last year when Nick Saban kind of turns his back on the guys that he recruited to go play for him at Alabama and just turns it over last second to Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is the coach now, obviously. And by the way, that guy, dude, he's got a huge contract buyout, so they can't buy him out of the contract unless they're going to have to give him a bunch of money. How thankful does he have to be for Michael Penix? You're the O coordinator at Indiana. Michael Penix plays so well at Indiana, you get a head coaching job at Washington. You have a prolific offense, obviously, with so many great weapons. Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, Romo Dunze, Michael Penix. You get the head coaching job at Alabama because your team goes to the national championship. Wow. And now you're here, and you disappointing last year, not a horrible last year. You lose to FSU in week 1. I actually don't think the loss is as bad as people are making it out to be, because I do believe FSU, I wasn't very high on them going into the season, but they look pretty good in week 1. And you are going on the road to Tuscaloosa. That can be a tough place to play when FSU's playing good football. And I get it. Alabama didn't look great offensively. Ty Simpson wasn't great, finally getting his chance to start. Actually, he wasn't bad. They couldn't run the ball. And Jeremy Bernard's not a horrible back as well, right? Receiver, excuse me. It's not a horrible loss. It's just the Bama run, though, being elite's not going to, that's not going to continue. They're not going to be an elite team in the SEC this year. They're going to be a good team. They're not going to be an elite team. Like, guys, they go to Georgia in a couple weeks. They're going to lose, right? They might lose at Auburn this year. They are going to go to South Carolina. They will lose. They might lose to Tennessee in Tuscaloosa, right? They're just not on that level anymore. And I don't think Ty Simpson can just carry them out of this hole. Will they blow out UL Monroe? 100%. Come on. They're going to blow out UL Monroe, who's starting Aiden Armetta at quarterback. Armetta does not have a good game last week against St. Francis, same team that actually beat Kent State last year. Instead, it's the run game that really gets it going for the Warhawks. Again, in Louisiana, Braylon McReynolds is the lead rusher for the Warhawks last week. 11 carries on 113 yards. That's a good game. That's a really good game. Playing Alabama. I don't care at what stage Alabama's in. You're still playing Alabama. They still have all these recruits, obviously. They still have all these, high star level guys. Alabama's beating UL Monroe. I'm not concerned at all. And they will cover too, right? I mean, there's a sense of, okay, we got to get some get back here. Alabama, for as bad as it is, if you can somehow still run the table and win 10, 11 games, you can probably still get in the playoffs. So it's about how you regroup from that loss last week in Tallahassee. You get a bad team to get right against, the same team that Texas destroyed last year in UL Monroe. They used to have General Booty as their quarterback. I'm taking Alabama to destroy UL Monroe. I expect Ty Simpson to have a really good game. Obviously, again, there's still an influx of talent on Alabama. Ryan Williams still plays on this football team, okay? Is he anywhere close to Jeremiah Smith? Probably not, but they still have talent. They will go out there and they'll beat UL Monroe. I don't have a doubt in my mind that they won't do that. Give me Alabama to cover at home in Tuscaloosa, minus 38.5. Next up, let's go to a banger of a matchup from Las Cruces, New Mexico. As we have the New Mexico State Aggies taking on the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. What a banger of a matchup with two teams that did not really play good football last week. That Tulsa was all right. They beat Albany Christian, obviously, without Maverick McVore, who's now at Western Kentucky. Stone Earl, actually, the starting quarterback now for Albany Christian, oddly enough, from Marshall. Surprised he didn't stay. But anyways, Tulsa takes on New Mexico State this week, not the Lobos, New Mexico State. New Mexico State looks so bad. I didn't get to watch a lot of this football game, but ooh, man. They're starting Logan Fife, who's been around college football. We mentioned him earlier, like Fresno State quarterbacks, him, Mikey Keene, Derek Carr, Logan Fife. I actually, once upon a time, watched Logan Fife start against San Jose State in Fresno. I forgot Jake Hayner was the other guy I was thinking of. Jake Hayner was injured. So Logan Fife was Jake Hayner's backup when Mikey Keene became the starter. Logan Fife left. He went to Montana last year. He's back in the group of five, and he's at New Mexico State. They won last week. Oh, it was not a good win. I mean, you win 19-3 against Bryant. The Am East Zone Bryant. I didn't even know Bryant had a football team. They play Stony Brook and New Hampshire and URI and the Brown Bears and Townsend, or however the hell you say their name, Campbell, Bentley. Like, what are these teams they play? You beat Bryant 19-3. Bryant's never been a powerhouse in football. Maybe I'm not well caught up on Bryant football, but like I'm pretty sure it's never been a team that's been good in football. Logan Fife's is 26-25. Good for him. New Mexico State's not good. That's just like the simplest way I can put this. Their offense, stagnant, horrible. They can't move the ball. Tulsa, am I sold on them? No. Are they better than New Mexico State? 100%. The difference maker in this game, in my opinion, is their running back, Dominic Richardson. Richardson last week runs for 142 yards. This is a guy who's been at Oklahoma State before, has gotten good run at Oklahoma State and Baylor. Last year got really pushed out the running back rotation at Baylor. In one game with Tulsa last week against Albany Christian, he ran for more yards last game, against Albany than he did in the entire season last year in Waco for the Baylor Bears, okay? This is a very capable running back who ran for 8 touchdowns in 2022, obviously got pushed out of that running back room when Ollie Gordon became the guy at Oklahoma State and Stillwater. It's a capable guy, don't get me wrong. Like, again, Dominic Richardson was pretty much the starter in 2022 for OK State. You send him to Tulsa, he's going to get great run over here. Throw him up against this New Mexico State defense. And yeah, they stuffed the Bryant rushing attack, and in all fairness to the Aggies out of Las Cruces, they stuffed everything that Bryant did offensively last week. Well, you're expected to do that. It's Bryant. You know? I'm taking Tulsa to go in there and win this game. I am. Quarterback play for Tulsa, not something that's going to wow you. It's Kirk Francis, 3 for 218 yards last week. Again, a sophomore who's been with Tulsa his entire career, got some run last year. The guy to watch for the Golden Hurricane for the rest of the season is going to be Dominic Richardson. It's a guy that I think could be playing at a lower level Power 4 school, but there's nothing wrong with going to the American Conference and being the guy over there, you know? Being the guy at Tulsa. He's going to get to play his former school in a couple weeks at OK State. That's going to be fun. Obviously, got to play with them against them with Baylor, but still. I like Tulsa to win this game. They're only 3.5-point favorites on the road. I'm telling you, the run game is going to make the difference. Logan Fife is not that good of a college football quarterback. He's a guy, again, his offense, in all fairness to him, his offense isn't very good. Fife still throws a bunch of interceptions. There is not many weapons around the guy. Tulsa should go into Las Cruces and dominate New Mexico State. 3.5 points is not enough. Tulsa is going to go in there and easily win the football game. Give me the Golden Hurricane. On now to our next one. Let's go to a matchup between two future Pac-12 schools, or one current Pac-2 school, Pac-12 school in Washington State, and their opponents in the San Diego State Aztecs. I'm going with the Washington State Cougars to win. Yeah, going with Wazoo at home. I think they beat San Diego State. I know last week was a very uneventful victory for Washington State. They win the game by 3 points against the low-level Idaho Vandals, used to be FBS, obviously. Different Wazoo team this year, right? Last year, they had a really good year. All things considered, for Wazoo, that was a very good season. I would argue their best season since Gardner Minshew left. You go win the Apple Cup against Washington. You were 8-4 at one point in time. Through 9 games, you were talked about as a potential playoff team, with your only loss being Boise. Now they close the season horribly, but it is what it is. Wazoo, I still think, is not that bad. They're not. You lose John Mateer to Oklahoma. Right, that's, an elite quarterback in college football. We'll talk about Mateer in a little bit with the feature game against the Michigan Wolverines. Okay. Wazoo now has Jackson Potter as their quarterback. Jackson Potter is a sophomore, 6'5" sophomore out of Huntington Beach, California. He was Mateer's backup last season. Ethan Brown leaves. Obviously, Emmett Brown, excuse me. Emmett Brown leaves. He's injured now at Coastal. That sucks. Probably won't ever play college football ever again. But Emmett Brown leaves as their backup. It's Jackson Potter last season. Okay, he's now getting run as the starting quarterback. That's great. Wazoo scores 13 points last week. They could not run the ball. Their leading rusher was Kirby Voorhees, who had 6 carries for 19 yards. Oh, Idaho stuffed them. You're playing SDSU, who blew out Stony Brook 42-0. Stony Brook's quarterback had 4 completions. They're starting at Jaden Denegal, who is a junior. He's been around for a little bit. Played at Michigan, was at Michigan, and now is starting at San Diego State. Not a guy that really wows me. They can run the ball a little bit. Lucky Sutton is their main back. All right. San Diego State, it doesn't wow me. You beat Stony Brook. That's a low-level Am East school. I know there's no Am East for football, but that's an Am East, basketball school playing football, obviously. Not a win that really wows me at all. I get it. Wazoo loses John Mateer. It's a different offense. You're not airing the ball out like you used to with Mike Leach, obviously. It's a kind of different style of offense. It's not straight air raid, but it is. They try to run the ball. They try to run the ball, and it doesn't really go their way. Guys, one of their running backs, Angel Johnson, had 10 carries for -4 yards. Former SDSU guy. Was pretty good at South Dakota State. It's just, I don't know. They're not the same offense. They tried really running the ball last week against Idaho, and it went nowhere, time in and time out. I don't know what happens this week when they play San Diego State, but I'm going to go with Wazoo. Game's in Pullman. You're at home. You're supposed to be better than San Diego State. They're coming into your conference next year. I think Wazoo should win. I think we just need to see more, obviously, out of the pass game. I'm going to take the Cougars to win this game at home against the San Diego State Aztecs. Next up, let's go to Stanford versus Brigham Young. Oh, Stanford. The Stanford Cardinal have been given a whole week to reflect on their actions in week 0 against Hawaii. No, I haven't seen anything else said elsewhere. They're starting Ben Gulbranson again. They're not going to score this week. You saw BYU's 69-0 victory against Portland State. 42-0 this week. 42-0. I'm so serious. And also, Tiger Bachmer. Revenge game. Bear Bachmer is the quarterback. It's just a weird family dynamic. You name one of your kids Tiger and your other kid Bear? Really? Anyways. Bear Bachmer, Tiger Bachmer, both at BYU. It's Tiger's revenge game. Bear's obviously a freshman here, getting starts at quarterback. That's great. With Jake Retzlaff obviously being suspended and leaving because of having premarital sex. Anyways, Brigham Young ran the ball all over Portland State. Bear Bachmer's all right. Again, they're going to really, aid him with the run game this season because you should. Freshman, obviously. The run game is going to be a big factor of what they do this year. Now, Tiger Bachmer only had one catch last week, but again, not many passes were going around. Carson Ryan, Cody Hagan had some catches. Ryan, obviously, their senior tight end. But it's going to be a big running attack here out of Brigham Young. I see no reason why they won't be able to run the ball straight down Stanford's throat. They'll be able to run it down their throat, and they'll be able to do it the entire football game. And Stanford won't have any options. They'll be forced to take it down the throat. That's not like that, though. You know what I mean. Like, they will not have... BYU's going to penetrate they're going to force their will on Stanford, okay? Just they're going to dominate is what I'm trying to get at. Stanford starting Ben Gulbranson. You saw Ben Gulbranson trying to play against Hawaii. No disrespect to the guy. Shout out to you for keeping your college career alive. He's so horrible. He can't throw the ball for 5 yards in terms of, like, they can't complete balls downfield at all. Stanford gets a 3rd and 10. Oh, they're going to try and check the ball down. And they couldn't even get the ball in their best playmaker's hands, and that's Sam Roush, their tight end. They could not get the ball in Sam Roush's hands at all. He's your best playmaker. He's your 6'5" senior tight end. He is solid. Very solid. You can't get the ball in that guy's hands. You don't have Alec Aomanor anymore, however you want to say his name. You lose Tiger Bachmer. You don't have many weapons. Your run game is not that good. Actually, no, Micah Ford can run it. Micah Ford can. I'll give Micah Ford credit. But your pass game, again, you don't have many playmakers. You got to get it in one of your playmakers' hands. Micah Ford is one. I correct myself. I keep saying it. Elijah Brown can't be that bad. He's a redshirt freshman. When are you going to go to him? And they have the weird thing, Frank Reich's here for 1 year. It's odd. It's really odd. I'm taking BYU to blow them out, okay? BYU's run game, their running backs combined should run for over 300 yards today. I'm so serious. Or Saturday. Night game in Provo. Stanford's not going to stand a chance. It's going to be cold. Brigham Young's going to dominate. Stanford's not ready for prime time. Stanford legitimately this season might not win a football game. Look at their schedule. What game do they win? Hawaii, BYU, Boston College, Virginia, San Jose State, SMU, Florida State, Miami, Pitt, UNC, Cal, Notre Dame. Which game do they win? Oh, wait. None. Maybe Boston College, but probably not. Maybe... No, they don't have... No, San Jose State, they're not beating San Jose State. Maybe that's their one game. That's their one game they could win. They are not going anywhere this season. They're going 0-12. Okay? BYU dominates. Spread is pretty big. BYU's going to cover 17.5. Actually, that should be at 27.5. BYU dominates Stanford. Final game before we get into the feature games. I know we're about 2 hours into the video. Longer? My goodness. Sam Houston versus Hawaii. I'm going to take Hawaii. Don't love the travel for Sam Houston. You got to go. And this is a team that's traveled a lot this season already. Think about what Sam Houston's done this year, okay? You go to Western Kentucky. All right, you go to Kentucky. You go back home to UNLV, and now you got to go all the way to Hawaii. That's a lot. That's actually not as much as I thought it was going to be in my head. They go to Texas next week. That makes it even more, but it's in-state. Still, it's a lot of travel. Texas to Kentucky, back to Texas, Texas now all the way to Hawaii. That's brutal. 8:59 game, late. Hawaii should blow them out. They should. It's just one of these Hawaii games. Micah's good. I'll give him credit. I wasn't sold on Micah going into the Stanford game, but I'm still not entirely sold. Didn't play a great game against Arizona, but Arizona did what they needed to do, obviously, with Noah Fafita at quarterback in the first game post-Ted McMillan era with the Arizona Wildcats. Hawaii beat Stanford. They get blown out the week after. Okay, that's fine. They're going to blow out Sam Houston. Sam Houston's coming off of playing competitive games, fairly speaking, against WKU and against UNLV. UNLV, I'm not sold on just yet. We're going to talk about them later, and yes, they are a feature game. I like Hunter Watson, but Hunter Watson, to me, hasn't made that next step so far this year. He was good in 2024, has not been good so far in 2025. He's just been very mid and has not been a difference maker at all. For Sam Houston, literally nobody on the entire offense has been a difference maker so far for the Sam Houston Bearcats. And I don't see anything being different here. And it's just, honestly, it's just a rough spot for them, okay? You're an 0-2 team, and now you're staring down the barrel of having to go all the way, switch 3 time zones over to Hawaii, and the next week you got to play, a top 10 team in the country in Arch Manning in Texas. Your future's looking really bleak right now. You're staring down an 0-4 start, and again, this game you got to go on the road all the way to Hawaii to take on the Rainbow Warriors. I just don't like it. I'm going to take Sam Houston to lose. I'm going to take Hawaii to cover. They are 9.5 point favorites. It just feels like it should be more. I know the Arizona game was not good for them, Still, though, look at the way they beat Stanford. Look at the way, again, you eliminate some of their special teams mistakes in week 0 against Stanford, they're in such a good position to win that football game, and really, the game's not even close, because we crap on Stanford's offense. I got to give some credit to Hawaii's defense at the same exact time. They were able to shut down Stanford and see some success there. I'm going to take them to dominate Sam Houston. I haven't seen it so far this year at Hunter Watson. The mobile threat hasn't entirely been there this year. I'm going to take the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors to win and cover against Sam Houston. I believe they're going to win and cover the 9.5 points at the same time. Okay, that does it for every single other game this week. We got you covered, though. I think we have about 10 feature games. So lock in. There's still a lot of college football left. And I know, again, this video is very long, but this is what we've signed up for this season, guys. We're giving you feature films every single week in college football. So lock in. Again, I don't know. I don't really watch other, YouTubers. Who's doing it like us? I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch. Let's move on. Our first game of the feature games. Let's go Illinois versus Duke. Okay. I said this last week a little bit, I believe, or at least I've been thinking. I don't know if I've told you guys yet. I'm not high on Illinois. I'm not. I think I went over this a little bit. I don't think Illinois is as good as people think they are. I don't think they are. I think I said it very briefly when I was talking about Indiana. I'm just talking about the outlook of the Big Ten this season. Illinois is not as good as I think people are making them out to be this year. They've got a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. You got Luke Altmaier, who's back again. He had a very good first game against the Western Illinois Leathernecks, okay. Aiden Lowry ran the ball fairly well, too. It doesn't matter to me. You played West Illinois, okay? What does matter to me is that I don't think Illinois is as good as people are making them out to be. They're top 15, which doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. I still think they're beating Duke. I still think they are going to beat the Duke Blue Devils. Again, this is Duke post Malik Murphy, which Darian Mensah might be better. Mensah played a really good week 1, threw for 400 yards against Elon. Sure, Elon's not a good football school, not really good basketball school either, but still, Darian Mensah throws 400 yards in that game, essentially. They lose their running back, Star Thomas, to Tennessee. Okay. Adrian Castle and Jacuz Moore are going to get a lot of carries. I don't know really what to make of that. Nate Shepard, too. Peyton Jones, they've got a lot of backs, obviously, in the blowout last week. Games in Durham, I don't think they beat Illinois at all. I'm not high on Illinois in the slightest. They're better than Duke, though. They're a way better defensive unit. Offensively, yes, Darian Mensah looked good in week number 1, really good against Elon. I don't think he's able to turn in that great of an offensive effort against the Illinois Fighting Illini, in all fairness. Illinois, again, Big Ten versus ACC, I'm not going to completely go to that and just be like, oh, this is the reason why I'm taking Illinois. I like the Big Ten more. I'm going to take Illinois to beat Duke. No, that's not the reason I'm doing that. But they are just the all-around better football team. They have more talent. Obviously, again, there's a reason they're ranked high because there's been a lot has been made of the talent that Illinois has this season. The turnover they have from last year. Luke Altmaier takes their guys to 9-3 last year and a Citrus Bowl victory over the South Carolina Gamecocks and Lenora Sellers. That's a good season. It's a really good season. And obviously this year they are building upon that, right? You lose Pat Bryant to the NFL draft. Bryant, I believe, a 3rd-round draft pick. You lose some good guys and some good talent. But for the most part, they do have most of their core back, and they added some of the portal. Again, are they an elite team in the Big Ten? I'm going to say no. I don't think they beat Indiana and Bloomington in a couple weeks. I don't think they beat Ohio State. I think they have trouble at Washington. I think they have trouble against USC, at Wisconsin. They're going to beat Duke, though. Darian Mensah's good. He is. He looked good against Elon. I want to see him against a Big Ten defense. It's different. Simply put, it's just different, right? You can look good at Tulane. He looked great at Tulane last year. But that's against American. And in all fairness, Tulane played some good teams last year. But you can look good against other American squads. You can look good against Elon. You're playing Illinois, who is supposed to have a really good defense this season. Again, I'll believe it when I see it, because I still don't think they're as good as people are making them out to be. But I do believe, though, they're good enough to beat the Duke Blue Devils. So I'm taking the Illinois Fighting Illini to go to North Carolina and beat the Duke Blue Devils. Again, we're looking at the line here. Minus 145 for Illinois. Duke should be a plus 125 underdog on the graphic, not plus 120, but still. Minus 145 for Illinois, plus 125 for Duke. I think Illinois covers the 2.5 points. Minus 145, don't get me wrong, is playable on the money line, so do that if you shall wish. I'm taking Illinois to win the game on the road in Durham, and they will beat Duke, and they will cover the 2.5 points at the same time. Let's move on now to our second feature game of the week. Let's go to the Battle of Texas. Southern Methodist hosts the Baylor Bears from Dallas, Texas. SMU, obviously, right, a playoff team in 2024 with Kevin Jennings at the helm. Obviously, they went to the postseason, lost to the Penn State Nittany Lions in a one-sided beatdown, I will say, in Pennsylvania. They are back. They won 42-13 in week number 1 against East Texas A&M. Obviously, a team from the Southland Conference, at least in basketball. I don't know if that's a thing in college football. It is. The Southland is a college football conference. Okay. Kevin Jennings has a good week 1, a serviceable week 1. Is he top 10 quarterbacks in college football? I think so. At least potential-wise, he's definitely at that. This is still a very young quarterback and a guy who, again, had a bad playoff game against Penn State. And was he the reason they lost? Kinda. But I think he's going to be much better this season. I firmly believe that. This is a good test. It's a really good test, and a test where I'm kind of shocked that the line's this close with them and Baylor. I am. 2.5 is kind of crazy for me. I think it is expected Baylor is going to be good offensively. They put in, Sawyer Robertson puts in 400 yards passing alone, right? They weren't really able to effectively run the football and see too much success with that, but Sawyer Robertson, right, in his own right, 27 completions for 419 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a very good game for him. Cole Wilson, their best receiver, 8 catches, 134 yards. Michael Trigg, 7 catches for 100 yards. That's a very good game for the Baylor Bears, at least offensively, but you still lose by 14. Your defense couldn't really hold Jackson Arlen and Auburn. What makes you think they're going to hold Southern Methodist? I think I'm higher on SMU than a lot of people. I pretty clearly thought they were the best team in the ACC last year. And did they win the ACC? No, they lost to Clemson. Whatever. They should have won that game. They fell behind early. It is what it is. Again, I still think Kevin Jennings in year 2 of being the full-time starter, obviously Preston Stone was the guy, and then Kevin Jennings took over. In year 2 of being a full-time starter, Kevin Jennings will continue to make that leap. Kevin Jennings will continue to be better. You look at this game with them in Baylor, I think they do win pretty handedly. I don't understand the line. I understand Baylor's got talent. You know the talent Southern Methodist has? With, by the way, CJ 2K Jr. getting snaps as well. Don't know how many snaps he's going to continue to get, but shout out to Chris Johnson Jr. scoring his first ever touchdown at the collegiate level last week against the East Texas A&M Lions. That's exciting. And also we need to talk about, too, SMU, they're going to continue to get guys like CJ 2K Jr. because of all the money and the big rich donors that Southern Methodist has. They're only going to continue to be a big-time program. They're going to continue to be a powerhouse in the ACC for so many years. They've always gotten guys, but now, again, SMU is going to establish themselves, I believe, as a powerhouse. Postseason team last year in the first ever 12-team playoff, and I think that only continues to go their way. I think they're going to be competitive in the ACC this year. They're not going to win it because Miami is just too good this year. Obviously, that was shown last week or just yesterday in their win over the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But to me, I look at this game and I see, okay, Baylor gave up that many points to Auburn. In a game where Jackson Arnold, again, took over with his feet and, Auburn was able to run the ball all over Baylor. What happens now when SMU runs the ball with their 4-headed running back core or 3-headed running back core? And now Kevin Jennings also can throw the ball on you too. What happens? I don't think Baylor's defense is able to keep them in the game. I think Sawyer Robertson will keep them in the game as much as he can because of how well he throws the ball, because, again, how much he slings it and just his ability, again, to keep his team in the game. I ultimately don't think it's going to be enough. I'm going with the Southern Methodist Mustangs to win at home against Baylor, and I don't know why the odds are this close, truthfully, right? Baylor is a plus 120 underdog at Southern Methodist in Dallas. SMU a minus 140 favorite. Why? How? Team won the ACC regular season title last year, playoff team last season. You think Baylor, who lost to Auburn at home, is going to Dallas and beating Southern Methodist? I don't think so. I'm taking SMU to win the game at home against Baylor, minus 140 on the money line, minus 2.5. They cover as well. Give me SMU. We move on now to our next game. We go to a matchup of it's this Battle of Iowa versus Iowa State. Good game, obviously. This is getting put at the beginning of the season this year. That's cool. Iowa still can't throw the ball. Okay? And that was still evident last week when they played an FCS school. Shout out to, again, the Am East coming through. The U Albany Great Danes walk into Iowa, and they score 7 points. But how many passing yards does Mark Gronowski, the starting quarterback for Iowa, put up? 44. Backup comes in, throws one pass for 4 yards. So, again, it's still same old Iowa. The defense is great. They can throw the ball. They can run it. I mean, I don't think, again, they're never going to I don't think they're going to replicate the production of Caleb Johnson. If Xavier Williams does what Caleb Johnson did last year, we're looking at a star. Again, it's not going to happen. Xavier Williams ran the ball really well last week. Trell Washington is their back, but they have Xavier Williams too, who obviously got to run against, some of the lower level guys from UAlbany. But the freshman ran the ball 11 times for 122 yards. Trell Washington ran the ball 15 times for 70 yards. Okay, that's great. This is still a run-first team, and I don't think the pure run's just able to beat Iowa State. Obviously, I'm sure Iowa's going to have some, tricks in the hat this week, right? You're playing your in-state rivals. This means, this is a huge football game. I get that. Just running the ball against Iowa State, I don't believe is going to do it for them. You watch Iowa State play Kansas State, right? We didn't think Iowa State was going to win that football game, but watch them beat K-State. Yeah, K-State can't run the ball against them. They've got decent backs. Couldn't really do much, Look at Iowa State play South Dakota last week. I'm not the highest in FCS victories, but I told you earlier about, the difference between North Dakota State, South Dakota, and South Dakota State. South Dakota is a legitimate good FCS program, and a really good FCS program at that. Last year they got a home game against Tarleton State and UC Davis in the FCS playoffs. They beat both of them to get to the semifinals and lose to Montana State. They beat North Dakota State in the regular season. They almost beat South Dakota State in the regular season. What I'm getting to here is that South Dakota, the Coyotes, are a really good football team. Very good. Top 4 in the FCS, okay? If I had to rank them, I don't pay that much attention, but I'm pretty sure, the programs that are usually the best down there, in order, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, South Dakota. Those are, when I think of blue chip FCS programs, I'm sure I'm missing some, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Those are the teams I'm thinking of, okay? Those are the best squads. When I think FCS football, that comes to mind for me. Those are always the teams that are in, the playoffs every single year. When Kennesaw was down there, they were usually one of those schools too. Not, though, with the legacy that NDSU, South Dakota State, South Dakota, and Montana State have. Sometimes Montana's decent as well. However, Iowa State beat them 55-7. That's impressive. So that's legitimately the most impressive, victory you're going to get out of against the FCS school. Unless you're playing a Montana State, a South Dakota State, or a North Dakota State, that's great. Rocco Beck played a great game after playing in Dublin. Iowa State has not stumbled coming out of Ireland, right? K-State obviously has. That's neither here or there. What I'm getting at here is you cannot beat this Iowa State team by just running the ball because you're going to be losing. Iowa State's going to take the lead in this game. They're going to take the lead early. By the way, game's in Ames. It's at Iowa State. Iowa State will take control of the game early. And if you're Iowa, this is just known in general, Iowa's not equipped to come back in football games. They're just not. That run game's not equipped to, that run game's great. It usually can't get you back in games when you're a couple scores down because the clock is not your friend. Sure, defense will always be good for Iowa. That's what they build their brand of football around. Good defense and a great run game. It's just classic low-level Big Ten football, the endless cycle with them, Northwestern, sometimes Purdue. The teams who can't score but play good defense because all they know how to do. And also, all of them can't score, right? That's the endless cycle of bad Big Ten ball sometimes. In all fairness, Iowa, great defensive. Again, they've had talent. Cooper DeJean went here, right? I get that. Caleb Johnson played here last year, albeit he's a running back. They've been to the Big Ten Championship just 3 years ago. I was at that game, right? In Indianapolis. They got destroyed by Michigan. That's neither here or there. You cannot beat Iowa State in this game, though, by simply running the football. I'm sure they have some, tricks in their hat with Gronowski. I just don't buy it. Iowa State's played good football in the first 2 weeks of the season. They win a game as an underdog in Ireland against Kansas State. They dominate South Dakota. And again, on paper, you may not look at the South Dakota victory and say, wow, they beat the South Dakota Coyotes, an FCS school. I'm telling you, that's as impressive as a win over an FCS school gets, and a dominant victory over an FCS school that's really good, 55-7. Yeah, sign me up for Iowa State. I don't even think Iowa's going to have that much success running the football. I don't think this game's that close. I think Iowa State wins it by double digits, 10, 13, 14 points, okay? So give me the Iowa State Cyclones. They're playing at Ames. I think they win and they cover the 2.5 points. One of my more favorite bets of the week. I'm sure we're going to see this later on in the week with our best bets. Give me Iowa State to beat Iowa. They'll cover the 2.5 points. On now to our next feature game. Let's go to an ACC matchup as the Virginia Cavaliers go on the road to take on North Carolina State. I love Virginia on the road here. I do. I think this is a great play here for UVA. Now, they are without their starting quarterback, which does get tricky. Chandler Morris got helmet-to-helmet hit last week against Coastal. So that sucks because Chandler Morris was really good at North Texas last year, former TCU quarterback. He's out this week. That sucks. So let's welcome in the backup this week, Daniel Kaelin. Daniel Kaelin, the sophomore quarterback out of Elkhorn, Nebraska, got his first taste of collegiate football action last week against the Chantons of Coastal Carolina late in the game. And now here he is. Yes, we are betting on a guy playing his first ever collegiate football game or first ever start in collegiate football on the road in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm not sold North Carolina State. Saw them last week. Caden Hauser had a field day. Now, is Caden Hauser a borderline, power 4 quarterback? Yeah, definitely. He's at ECU, and he's going to have a very good season at ECU. I firmly believe that. Last week, Caden Hauser at NC State threw for 366 yards and a touchdown. I'm not sold on North Carolina State right now. They stall out too much for my liking. And sure, they were up in that game 24-7 until Hauser and ECU put some points on them at the end of the game and made it competitive in a one-score outing. It's NC State's inability to close, an inability just to put away the Pirates of East Carolina in that football game. CJ Bailey's a good quarterback. He is. Threw for 318 yards, touchdown, and a pick. It's just, again, I cannot rely on what North Carolina State has. They're a good team. They're not a great team. Easiest way I can put it. Wesley Grimes had a good game. Had 121 receiving yards and a touchdown, 4 catches, though. It's not a reliable offense for me. They win the game by 7 points, and now you get UVA, right? ACC matchup. And I get it. UVA is without their starting quarterback. If Chandler Morris is playing, this is a great pick. This is probably a pick 'em, and Virginia's probably winning the game. Look how dominant they were last week, right? 48-7 against the Chants. That's not a bad Chants team, by the way, right? They've got talent over there at Myrtle Beach. Chandler Morris, 264 yards in the air, 50 on the ground. The entire team dominates. But again, him being out this week really hurts Virginia. It's without being said. Like, how much that affects Virginia. It was a big get for them in the portal. He's a very good experienced quarterback coming up from the group of 5 level. That was a great signing for them in the offseason. So him being out really hurts. I still think they're able to do it. I believe enough in Daniel Kaelin. I think first ever career start. Not like North Carolina is going to be throwing you too many troubling looks. I don't think North Carolina State. That defense does not impress me that much. Again, Caden Hauser weaved right through it. They couldn't, again, ECU couldn't execute and finish in plus territory. But I believe Virginia's going to. And again, there is talent. Here's the thing. There's more talent around, or on Virginia than what ECU had around Caden Hauser. Ultimately, I believe, again, Virginia's going to go on the road and shock a lot of people here. As underdogs, think it's great value. Give me the Virginia Cavaliers to go on the road and, let's pick up some plus money at plus 120. They're going to beat North Carolina State plus 2.5-point dogs. If it's within 3, we just play the money line. Plus 120, Virginia going to NC State and winning the game in Raleigh, North Carolina. On to our next next feature game. Is this a sneak? Kinda, but I thought I'd put it in there just because, we do get to talk about Oregon for the first time this season. And we do get to talk about Oklahoma State for the first time this year. It's a kind of big game, right? It's a Big 12 school versus a Big 10 school, right? And Oklahoma State is 1-0. Oregon, obviously, 1-0. The Ducks winning in Eugene last week against a very good FCS program and the runners-up last year in the FCS against, obviously, North Dakota State. Oregon went out last week and beat the Montana State Bobcats. That's really impressive. But you kind of expect that out of them. I think a more surprising result, and obviously just a better win too, was Iowa State completely blowing out the Coyotes of South Dakota. Anyways, though, Oregon does what they were expected to do against Montana State, no matter how good of an FCS program Montana State is, and they have a former Stanford quarterback in Justin Lampson starting for them. Oregon obviously dominated, right? They win the game 59-13. Dante Moore has a good first game as a starting quarterback of Oregon. We will see what he can do for the rest of the season. I think Dante Moore is good. It's obviously a step down from Dylan Gabriel, though, right? I thought Oregon was going to get and Dante Moore in his 1 year starting at UCLA in 2023 was not very good. There's a reason they got Ethan Garbers to start over him the year after. I don't know. The jury's still out with Dante Moore in his second year starting as a collegiate quarterback. I think we all thought this was going to be Quinn Ewers this season. And if Quinn Ewers was here, for as much as he struggled at times at Texas, he was going to be put in a position, I believe, at Oregon to win a lot this year. And obviously, you'd see the field more at Oregon than he's going to as a third-string quarterback behind Tua Tagovailoa and Zach Wilson for the Miami Dolphins. And he would have got more money, by the way, to come play in Eugene as well. That's neither here or there. Oregon has Dante Moore this season. Dante Moore is obviously provided some of the most weapons in all of college football. There are so many guys around him. They are a talented group of receivers, right? There are so many guys on this team. You get Oklahoma State this week. I'm not going to make this I won't hold you here for much longer for this game. OK State's not beating Oregon. I just wanted to take the time to give Oregon their own, spot in the video. Because we didn't get to talk about them last week. Yes, they're still a top 10 team in the country. Yes, their defense is still elite. Yes, their offense is good. I believe the one thing, though, that I think might hurt them in Big Ten play is Dante Moore. I think it is. I have nothing against Dante Moore, right? We watched him play UCLA. He was not electric. He was not great. I think when you play better defenses in the Big Ten, not having an elite guy like Dylan Gabriel, who got drafted, who had played a lot of college football, is just going to hurt you. Guys, they go to Penn State in 4 weeks. They play OK State, Northwestern, Oregon State in the Civil War, and then they go to Penn State and have Penn State and Indiana in back-to-back weeks. I don't like that for them. I think there's a really good chance that they probably will lose back-to-back games. To Drew Aller and to Fernando Mendoza and Kurt Cignetti. Get to that when we get there, though, right? You don't have Dylan Gabriel no more. Yes, you were the number one team in the playoffs last year until you lost in the Rose Bowl and got blown out by the eventual national champions in Ohio State. You were an elite team last year. You still have elite talent, obviously. I don't know what Dante Moore is going to be. I don't think Dante Moore is elite. Maybe I'll get proven wrong, and I think they're going to beat Oklahoma State. I think they're going to blow out Oklahoma State. They are the better football team. They have a good defense that should shut down whatever the Cowboys have got going. Guys, OK State scored 27 points last week and won 27-7 against UT Martin. Okay, Zane Flores is the starting quarterback now of this football team. Okay. Zane Flores has to start because their starter, I believe, is out now, right? Haas Henji, I believe. Yeah, he broke his nose. And broke a bone in his foot, not his nose. He'll be out for multiple weeks. So now it's Zane Flores, who lost the quarterback competition in the offseason. He's a true freshman, or redshirt freshman. Lost the quarterback battle in the offseason. He's now starting. There's a reason he wasn't the quarterback. He lost the battle, and now he's going to have to start. OK State's not in a great place here. They're not in an okay position. You don't have Ollie Gordon no more. Not like he had a good 2024 at all. Your best running back is now Caleb Hicks, who against UT Martin averaged 2.5 yards a carry. 21 carries, 56 yards. And now you go play Oregon in Eugene? I hate it. Absolutely hate it. I'm not sold on Oregon just yet, but obviously, skill-wise, yes, they're much better. They have more talent. They have a better roster. They are better than Oklahoma State. And, hopefully the Duck's head doesn't fall off today or on Saturday on his, run out. Hopefully the Duck keeps his head on straight. Oregon will win the football game. We'll see. I don't think Oklahoma State's, you have your backup quarterback going, a guy who lost the job or lost the battle in the offseason, and Oregon's still elite. Are they elite, though, against other top teams in the Big Ten? We will find out. Give me Oregon spread minus 28.5. Not a game I'd particularly play, but of course we include it because it is one of the bigger games of the week on CBS. Maybe the biggest game of the week? I don't know. Probably not. No, the biggest game of the week is definitely Oklahoma-Michigan. We'll get to that in a little bit. For now, let's go to the first Southeastern Conference game of the entire season. The Kentucky Wildcats host the Ole Miss Rebels from Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky. Zach Calzada, welcome back to big-time football. Okay, he had an underwhelming week number one. In all fairness, Kentucky didn't ask him to do much other than hand the ball off to Dante Dowdle and Seth McGowan. Seth McGowan had 18 carries for 79 yards. Dowdle had 14 carries for 129 yards. Zach Calzada throws 23 passes. He completes 10 of those for 85 yards. Yikes. You're going to need a lot more out of Zach Calzada than that to beat Ole Miss. As again, Ole Miss comes to Lexington. They go to Kentucky. Zach Calzada, if you don't know the story, played at Texas A&M, was the starter in 2021, had a mid-season, goes to the FCS level, goes to Cam Ward's alma mater and Incarnate Word, has a really good 2024, throws for 3,700 yards, over 3,700 yards, 35 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, comes back to the SEC now, to Kentucky, a place that had Gavin Wimsatt last season and had Brock Vandergrift, but a team that ultimately struggled with production out of the quarterback position. Can Zach Calzada be that in his return now? I don't know. He was not good against Toledo, so what makes you think he's going to be good against Ole Miss? Ole Miss, they beat up on bad teams. We know they do. And unlike last year, they actually have difficult games to start the year. If you remember last year, Trey Harris and Jackson Dart were absolutely dominating, these low-level Mountain West schools or these FCS teams to start the year. Oh, they get one of those against Georgia State. Now you get thrown into the fire on the road in an SEC environment against Kentucky. I love the game. I love watching SEC football in week number 2. It's great. Austin Simmons is the truth. He is. I think he is. He did throw 2 interceptions. That's going to sort itself out. This was his first ever collegiate start. I'm high on the guy. I am. 6'4" quarterback, lefty from Miami. He's legit. He is. 341 yards. Again, 2 picks suck, but 11 yards a pass, 11 yards per completion, that's big stuff. I think Austin Simmons is legitimately good, and I think he's going to terrorize this Kentucky defense. I think he's going to. We saw Tucker Gleason have a lot of success against Kentucky. Why won't Austin Simmons with even better weapons? Zach Calzada, again, was disappointing last week. And it's one game, and they're obviously not going to go off of Calzada, and it's going to be hard for him to, honestly, put up like Brock Vandergrift numbers, and I mean be as bad as Brock Vandergrift was in games. But don't forget, right, Kentucky played Georgia really competitive last year at Kroger Field in Lexington. We'll see again what happens with a top 25 team in Ole Miss. I just don't believe Calzada is going to be able to make the plays that they need him to make. Again, we talk about this whole mindset with, Iowa, right? Not equipped to come back from behind and win football games. Right now, at least week 2, Kentucky Wildcats are not equipped to do the same exact thing. They're not. I don't think Calzada by himself can put them back in a position. Again, he looked good against the FCS last year. He looked great at Incarnate Word. Whole nother deal now playing against an SEC school. You weren't even impressive playing against a MAC team, albeit a good MAC team. It's just concerning. It's just concerning, right? I'm taking Ole Miss to win, and I'm taking them to cover. Line is 9.5. I think they blow out Kentucky. Just because I don't think Kentucky's able to keep up. I think once they get put in a deficit early, they're not going to be able to climb back into the football game because, simply put, I don't dislike Calzada, but I don't think Calzada is going to be able to get them back in this game. Yes, they got 2 really good running backs. Ole Miss's defense is solid, though, and Austin Simmons will by far be the best player on the field, at least best playmaker on the field. I think he's going to really create for Ole Miss in this game, and I do believe the Rebels are going to win this one. Again, we're continuing, Lane Kiffin football, right? Kiffin's still very, we make fun of Kiffin sometimes because of his social media presence and just his personality, I'll say. But Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, they know what they're doing. They do, okay? Give me the Ole Miss Rebels to go on the road to Kentucky. They will win the football game. They are 9.5-point favorites. Don't play the money line. It's minus 350, but I do believe Ole Miss gets it done. Give me the Rebels to win the football game at Kentucky and cover the 9.5 points in the process. Let's go now to our next feature game. Let's go to a former Big 12 matchup long time ago. The Missouri Tigers take on the Kansas Jayhawks. Hear me out. Hear me out. Taking Kansas plus 190. I'm going Jayhawks money line here, guys. Nothing so far in the first 2 weeks of the season has shown me otherwise, that Kansas can't go into Mizzou and win this football game. I firmly believe that. Yeah, Missouri looks great in week 1. Oh, that's awesome. They beat Central Arkansas. Okay, Bo Prabula is their quarterback, senior quarterback out of York, Pennsylvania. He's a guy that was with Penn State, never got to start. Obviously, he's been behind some really good quarterbacks. The last one, obviously, being Drew Aller. He gets to start the season in the SEC. Cook is gone, so now obviously it's Prabula who is going to be starting for the rest of the year, obviously in Missouri. This is his season, his senior year. That's great. Missouri beats up on Central Arkansas last week. Doesn't move me. Ahmad Hardy had 10 carries for 100 yards. Marquise Johnson, 5 catches for 134 yards. You're supposed to beat Central Arkansas. You're supposed to. Again, good win. Got to give them credit. Look how well Kansas has been playing. And no, they have beaten more than just an FCS school this year. They look good against Wagner, who's a low-level FCS team. Let's just be honest. They scored 56 points on them. But look at the Fresno State game. Again, in all fairness, am I the highest on Fresno this year? Probably not. After that week 1 game, I can't be. And They're only going to go as far as EJ Warner takes them. Warner has 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and 350 yards so far this year. Will he be better? Maybe. He hasn't been great yet, okay? But look at the way Kansas beats up on Fresno State, okay? Fresno State, we know they got a run game. They've got Bryson Donaldson. They've got Elijah Gillum. They've got Rayshawn Luke. They've got guys who can run the football and effectively ran the ball last week at home in Fresno against Georgia Southern. Kansas shuts that down, with the exception of the very first drive of the game where EJ Warner hits Bryson Donaldson on a little out route, a pop route, on 3rd and 3 for a gain of 39 yards and puts Fresno in a really good position, ultimately puts Elijah Gillum in the end zone. Fresno's got no offense in that game. They can't move the ball downfield at all against Kansas. Well, look at what Kansas is doing. Again, is Daniel Hishaw, is he their next version of Devin Neal? No. No one's going to replace Devin Neal in that offense, especially what Devin Neal is doing in the second half of 2024. They can't get that production out of another running back, at least not right now. They're making up for it, though. Highshaw's running the ball pretty well. LaShawn Williams is running the ball. And Jalen Daniels is always a threat at the quarterback position as well. I mean, the definition of a dual threat guy. That's what Jalen Daniels is. I mean, we always say it, one of the oldest and one of the most experienced quarterbacks in college football. He's been around for quite a bit, and he has started for quite a bit. He's been getting starts since his freshman year in 2020. This is his 6th year of college football. And he's only like 23. I think he started very young. Maybe 24. I mean, there are quarterbacks older. But that experience does go a long way. They're going on the road to Missouri. This is a good team. Guys, I don't think Missouri's as good as they were last year. And Missouri wasn't elite, but I mean, guys, you lose Luther Burden, who, in all fairness, did not even lead their team in receiving yards last year. But you lose Luther Burden. Theo Weiss is now with the Miami Dolphins. Brady Cook's gone. Brady Cook's with the New York Jets. I mean, a lot of that, what made Missouri great last year and took them to the Music City Bowl, won them 10 games, it's not there anymore. Drew Pine was their backup. He's at Bowling Green. We talked about him earlier in the video, right? I'm not big on Mizzou, man. Yeah, they look good in week 1. You're supposed to look good against Central Arkansas. I'm going to take the team who I've actually seen results out of this year and been efficient this year and been productive this season, and a team that can run the ball down your throat and can throw it too as well as Jalen Daniels, who is a very good dual threat guy and can attack you in so many different angles. I'm taking the Kansas Jayhawks to go on the road and beat the Missouri Tigers. Again, if you don't like that, take the spread. Plus 6.5 is great. You'll easily be able to buy a half a point and get it to plus 7. There is potential for that as well. I'm going with the Kansas Jayhawks to win on the road at Missouri, plus 6.5, and plus 190 as well. Give me the Jayhawks to beat Mizzou on the road. Next up, let's go to a matchup between the SEC and the Big 12. Arizona State goes on the road to Starkville, Mississippi. I'm pretty sure, make sure I'm right with that. Yes, Starkville, Mississippi, to take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So we jump from the 12:30 hour now all the way to 4 o'clock. Okay. I'm taking Arizona State to beat Mississippi State. I know Arizona State did not look good last week. It was a bad performance out of ASU, a team that has been fully expected to win the Big 12, a team that, was in the postseason last year, was that close to beating Texas in the Peach Bowl. They were right there. Obviously, you lose Cam Skadaboo to the NFL and to the New York Giants, so you lose your main guy. But Sam Leavitt has been expected to make that next step in 2025. I think he's going to, just being a sophomore this season. Leavitt, another one of these guys you can talk about, elite dual threat guys. Yeah, he's one of them. He is. Arizona State, I believe, right, can be a very good football team this year. I think they can. They're expected to be a very good football team. Are they better than Utah? The answer to that is no. I would still argue they're the second best team in the Big 12 because of all the talent. When Kanye Udo is your third running back, who was very efficient at Army last year, you're in a great spot. Jordan Tyson is a very good receiver, had 141 yards last week and 12 catches against Northern Arizona. Now, they did not play a great game against NAU. They kept NAU in the game. Their offense did not look as great as it did at times last year. Hell, there's a point in the third quarter, midway through the third quarter, a playoff team last year and a team that's expected to go back to the playoffs and have a chance to win the Natty this season in Arizona State is only up 11 points against the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. Sure, this is the same NAU team that played, I believe, was it Arizona tough last season? Or was it Utah? Or was it New Mexico? They played at Arizona. They played Arizona really tough last year. Now, Arizona was not very good last season. Sure, ASU this year is supposed to be better than what Arizona was last year. That's the comp I'll make. And Sam Leavitt is double, 4 or 5 times the quarterback Noah Fafita is. So you expect more out of ASU. They go to Mississippi State this week, a team that had to go to Southern Miss and had to play a tough Southern Miss team. Obviously, essentially the Sun Belt champions. Southern Miss is Marshall. Braylon Braxton, all their guys, their coach, they're all from Marshall. They're all the Thundering Herd from last season. Mississippi State goes into Southern Miss and they win the football game. They win it 34-17. Blake Shapen has a serviceable start. I'll say that. Blake Shapen has, second season as a starter, or second season, well, he got some starts last year at Mississippi State. First full year as a starter this year for Blake Shapen, the senior at Shreveport, Louisiana. Played well. Didn't play great, but played well. Okay? Arizona State, if they do what they're supposed to do, and Levitt has a good game, and, they are trying to establish the run with Kyson Brown or Leek Brown. I don't know who they're going to go to. I think it's going to be Kyson Brown's going to be the lead back for most of the season. I'm sure they're going to use both. They don't have a Scadaboo, obviously. But if Arizona State does what they're expected to do, and Sam Levitt continues to, again, make strides of improvement, and he continues to be a very aggressive and a very good dual-threat quarterback, Arizona State will have no troubles at Mississippi State. Okay, Mississippi State, again, we thought they were going to beat up on Mississippi State last week, and they did. Or, sorry, Southern Miss. Because, again, in-state rivalry, you're going to Southern Miss. Like, you're an SEC school. You should produce there. And they did. Don't forget what Mississippi State was last year. A 2-10 team that won one game against Eastern Kentucky and one win over UMass at home. They played Arizona State last year. They lost by 7 points in Tempe. And I get it. Yeah, that's an impressive game. You were able to play a playoff team that close. Arizona State did not have the confidence that they have now. They were not a playoff team back then, and no one was expecting that much out of Arizona State in September of last year. It's the second half of, obviously, the home and home between ASU and MSU. I am fully expecting Arizona State to dominate. Sam Levitt is really that good, and I think Arizona State dominates on the road at Mississippi State. Give me the Trojans to go out there and beat Mississippi State. I'm taking the Harvard of the West, Arizona State, to beat up on Mississippi State. -6.5, they will cover. Next up, we go to the game of the week. The game of the week. Michigan versus Oklahoma. On ABC from Norman, Oklahoma, the Sooners are 2.5-point favorites against Bryce Underwood and Michigan. Obviously, John Maytier playing in by far the biggest game he is going to play so far as an Oklahoma Sooner. He's got a bunch of tough games coming up on the schedule because they play in the Southeastern Conference. That's neither here or there. John Maytier was very good in his first game as a Sooner. Obviously, former Wazoo quarterback, helped Wazoo beat Washington last year in Seattle. John Maytier in his first game as an Oklahoma Sooner, 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 30 of 37 throwing the football against the Illinois State Redbirds. Now, again, it's Illinois State. That's an FCS school. I get that. But John Maytier plays a really great game. And Oklahoma looked good. The offense looked explosive. The best they've looked in a little while. It has, right? You're going to face one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in all college football this week in the Michigan Wolverines. You know how good this team is. And you now, again, Mikey Keene loses the starting job, losing the starting battle, the former Fresno State quarterback, to Bryce Underwood. Underwood is their guy. And Underwood in week 1, he was good. He was good. I'm not going to hate on the true freshman. It was a good start. Against New Mexico, they win the game 34-17. Again, that was a New Mexico team that saw their entire team leave. Justice Haynes is the running back now at Michigan. That's great. Alabama backup last season, got some run in Alabama, had 500 yards for the Crimson Tide. Comes to Michigan, first ever game with the club or with the team. 16 carries for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yep, that's what you want, your lead back. Michigan did give up some points to New Mexico, though, right? I mean, that game at halftime, it's what, 24-10? It was a 17-10 game at one point. So I don't really know if the Michigan defense is as good as advertised. I know it's good. I just don't know if it's elite, like everybody is telling me that it is. Or every, talk show head you're going to see is telling you, how great the defense is for the Michigan Wolverines. I know it's good. I just don't think it's as good as years past. At least the national championship year and the years that they've gone to the Big Ten title game and whatnot, and the J.J. McCarthy era and the Jim Harbaugh era at Michigan. I don't think the defense is what it was, obviously, when Aiden Hutchinson was here. Right? I think it's a good defense. I think it's a great defense. I don't think it's the best defense in college football. And it's a defense that I'll just say it, I think Oklahoma kind of exposes this week. There's a reason Oklahoma gave John Maytier all this money. There's a very clear reason. Because he is an elite quarterback in college football. 400 yards last week. I don't care. Again, I don't care who that's against. 400 yards against anybody at any level of college or any level of football in general is impressive. And that's exactly what John Mateer did last week. Yes, it's against FCS Illinois State. That is still impressive. I think John Mateer shreds this Michigan defense this week. Again, New Mexico, not a great team. No Devin Dampier, no Luke Whitesong. You lose a lot of, no Eli Sanders. You lose a lot of your team. And they still go into Michigan and score 17 points. They had a better outing at Michigan than Fresno State did last year. And Fresno State last year is supposed to be way better than New Mexico this year. Right? I'm not entirely sold just yet on the Michigan defense. I think Bryce Underwood's good. I think he is. Okay, it's your second career start, and now you got to go play in front of a sold-out house on primetime on ABC in Norman, Oklahoma. It's a lot to ask. That's why I made the case it should be Mikey Keene starting. Because, okay, say this game doesn't go well for Bryce Underwood. Say Michigan loses. Okay, well, you're 1-1 now, and you've got a senior quarterback who has a lot of experience at Fresno State just sitting there, and if you lose one more, there are going to be rumblings. Okay, do we sit Underwood for a little bit for the senior quarterback who's 23, who's been there and done that before? I don't know, you know? If you started Keene right now, he loses to Oklahoma, you have your easy out to then just bench him and go with Underwood for the rest of the season. You lose this game, conversations will be had. I don't think Underwood, again, is ready for this just yet. Oklahoma's defense, is it elite? No, it's good. It's not elite. I think it's just going to be a tough environment. You're going on ABC, prime time, playing in Oklahoma. I said it, it's the biggest game of the week, by far. This is the game everybody's watching next week. Oklahoma's going to get it done. John Mateer, again, I think will outduel Bryce Underwood. And I believe, right, Michigan's defense is good. It's not good enough to stop Oklahoma. And I just don't think Bryce Underwood is going to have a lot of success playing in this environment, hostile environment in Oklahoma. I'm taking the Sooners to win the game at home against the Michigan Wolverines. Okay, let's move on to our next game. We go to a matchup between the SEC's Vanderbilt and the ACC's Virginia Tech. Maybe kind of a sneak for the future games. Maybe. It is what it is. I'm going to go with it, though, and I'm taking VTech to beat Vanderbilt. Here's why. Okay, VTech last week loses to South Carolina. Literally yesterday. They lose to South Carolina. I actually believe it was a way better performance than the final score indicates. I mean, if you watch the game, it was. You know? VTech, they never take the lead in that game. They're always right there. You know, they were right on South Carolina's ass the entire game. Scores 11-17 in the fourth quarter. Lenora Sellers had the 64-yard touchdown on Nick Harbor. And ultimately, right, the Gamecocks win the football game over in Atlanta, Georgia, 24-11, right? South Carolina pulls away. If Virginia Tech could muster literally any offense from plus territory in that game, they win. Kyron Jones in this football game was great from, before the 50-yard line. They'd cross midfield and something would just happen. They completed like 2 balls all game long past midfield. I don't know what it was. South Carolina's defense just, all of a sudden, locked down and just, just bossed up in those spots. I don't know what that was, but that was weird. It really was. That's fine. Again, that's not going to happen in back-to-back games. And you're playing in a neutral site game against the Southeastern Conference team. And, Vandy's in the SEC too. Yeah, they are. They're not South Carolina, okay? They don't have Lenora Sellers. Diego Pavia changed the game of college football by getting everyone their JUCO years, but he's no Lenora Sellers. And by the way, Lenora Sellers is 20 years old? Not 24, 25 like Diego Pavia is. That's neither here or there. Pavia is a good quarterback. He wins. He's been there, done that. As long as Kyron Jones doesn't play bad this week, and again, the offense can do anything over midfield, they will win. Arguably, they could have beaten South Carolina last week if they had any production over midfield as well. You also take in mind, they're not playing in a neutral site anymore. You're not playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, where the Falcons play. You're at home. Enter Sandman's going to play. You're at Virginia. You're in Blacksburg, Virginia, against a Vandy team that, they blew out Charleston Southern. They blew out the Buccaneers of Charleston Southern. Diego Pavia has a good football game. I don't care. I don't. He looked well. He looked good against the FCS school. That's something. Go do it against an ACC school. And sure, again, Pavia did that all year long against the SEC, right? Vandy beat Alabama, sure. If I learned anything last year about Vanderbilt, they are 10 times better at home. They are not the same team away from Nashville, Tennessee. When you go into Nashville, anybody's on upset alert. Doesn't matter. Again, you could be Alabama. You are on upset alert if you walk into Nashville, Tennessee. Away from Nashville, though, not really a concern. Not really. Hey, Vandy says they're contenders this year, right? They say they are. This is their first big test. Again, I know Virginia Tech loses week 1. I know they don't look great in week 1. I actually think there's a lot more to take out of that. I think it's a lot. I think, again, the outlook can be a lot more optimistic than at least it appears right now. Again, Kyron Jones, I think, is a very capable college football quarterback. He is. They just needed to get it together over midfield, and they're going to be fine. And ultimately, I do believe that they can beat Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's roster is all right. Diego Papia is good. He's good facilitator. He can put you over the top in games. Again, he will go that extra mile to win the football game. I just feel like, again, going on the road at VTech, hostile environment. Vandy's not the same team on the road that they are at home. Virginia Tech should win. I'm going to take the Hokies to get things done. -3 on the spread, -145. I'm taking Virginia Tech to win here against Vanderbilt. They should be able to get it done. Again, we just need Kyron Jones to be somewhat productive here at home in Blacksburg. Let's go on to our next game. I believe it is our second and last game of the entire video. Yes, this is now, I'm pretty confident, the longest video ever on my channel. Ever. Over 3 hours. My goodness. Let's now go to the red bandana game as the Michigan State Spartans on NBC host the Boston College Eagles. I'm taking Michigan State. Okay, so I said this earlier, like 2.5 hours ago. Michigan State's only going to go as far as Aiden Childs can take them. And I don't know where that is. I don't know if that's 6-6. I don't know if that's 8-4. I don't know if that's a Big Ten championship. It's not. I think a realistic expectation for Michigan State this year is 8 wins. I think it is. I think you look at their schedule and say, okay, we can lose it. We might lose at USC, might lose at Nebraska. So there's 5. Might lose at USC, might lose at Nebraska, probably losing in Bloomington, probably losing to Michigan at home, but maybe you can win that game, and then losing at Penn State. Losing against Penn State. It's 5 games. A 7-5 year, all things considered, for Michigan State after losing 7 last year and going 5-7. It's not a bad year. It's actually a pretty good year. You'll take that if you're Michigan State. I'm not sold on Aiden Childs still. I'm not. He's not a good thrower of the football. There's a reason, and obviously, again, different time frame, obviously. DJU was the guy at Oregon State before Jonathan Smith and literally everybody from the Oregon State Beavers packed their bags at Corvallis and went to East Lansing. There's a reason Aiden Childs was considered the running quarterback. And there's a reason why Aiden Childs would only come in certain running sets. And DJU obviously was the main passer. And again, DJU was the veteran quarterback. He was a senior about to go to the NFL. Junior quarterback before he went to FSU. Obviously, Smith and company wanted Childs instead of DJU for their rebuild at Michigan State. But there's a reason Childs, again, wasn't, tasked with throwing the ball that year in his redshirt freshman year. He's a junior now, and he hasn't really improved throwing the ball. Yeah, he goes 17 for 23 passing. He has 150 yards in the game. There's nothing downfield the entire game. Guys, they've got good receivers on this team. They've got 4 really good receivers, in my opinion. Okay? And I know them all fairly well. Nick Marsh is a really good college receiver. Okay? Nick Marsh is a guy last year, freshman season, had over 600 yards for Michigan State. That's a good receiver. Okay? And that's a very capable receiver. Omari Kelly's fairly solid too. Senior, had a really good year last year at Middle Tennessee. One of the, very limited bright spots of what the Blue Raiders got to do last season was Omari Kelly. Again, 869 yards. He is a senior now. He had 75 yards in game 1 last week, right? Leading receiver by far. You have Krishan McCray, who has sky's the limit in terms of talent. Kent State, again, legitimately like the only bright spot all year long for the Kent State Golden Flashes, and he didn't even have a big year. Actually, Luke Floria was a pretty big bright spot last year for Kent State. Got a shot with the Cleveland Browns this season in the preseason before getting injured and hurting his hamstring, unfortunately. But Krishan McCray was a bright spot. He has always been a great talent. From Indiana, went to Kent, now at Michigan State. He had 1 catch for 28 yards in Friday's victory over West Michigan. Jack Velling is one of the better tight ends in the country. Jack Velling had 1 catch for 3 yards. Yeah. You talk about, again, tight end Oregon State went from Luke Musgrave to Jack Velling, and those, Jack Velling took over in 2023 as a starting tight end at Oregon State. Or as one of the main tight ends at Oregon State. 411 yards last year, went down, obviously, from going from DJU to Aiden Childs, and now he gets 3 yards in game 1. You got to be able to use a guy like that who's 6'5", 245 in his senior season. Yikes. That's my problem with Michigan State, is Aiden Childs. They can run the ball. Mekhi Frazier's a good running back. Again, they could only go as far as Childs can take them. Boston College. I mean, a good week 1 win, right? A very good week 1 win. Dylan Lonergan, I think I say his name, probably not, is a good week 1 against Fordham. Grayson James is there too, but I guess they're going Dylan. Okay. They blow out Fordham. Full transparency, I didn't watch the game against Fordham, okay? I've seen clips. I did not watch the full game against Fordham. From what I've seen, they could not run the ball against Fordham, so they had to throw it all day long, and they had a lot of success, right? Dylan had 4 touchdown passes. Lewis Bond had 140 yards in the air. Dawson Poe had 100 yards as well. It's a team that can throw the ball, and that can be concerning against Michigan State, but I do think Michigan State's defense is pretty solid, right? Again, their defense gives up 0 points against West Michigan. It was a pick 6 that scored in Friday's game. It's a good defense. I don't care, again, how low-level West Michigan might be offensively. Holding any team to 0 is impressive, especially at the FBS level. I don't think, and you got to think Michigan State's prepared for the pass all game long. I think they're going to be pretty solid in this spot. I truly believe that. Again, I think this game is going to depend on what Aiden Childs is able to do. I hope Childs can distribute the football. We know he's a good athlete. We know he can run. He had that big scramble when I think Michigan State was up 14-0, almost got to the end zone, tried to put them up 21-0 in the second quarter, right? He's a capable player. He's a great athlete. He's just got to find a way to throw the football. I don't know. We'll see. I think Michigan State's going to continue to get better as the season goes on. I would hope. I think the defense, again, is very solid. I just don't know about Aiden Childs. Also fumbled twice in the Western Michigan game as well, did Childs. We'll see. Taking Michigan State to win, -2.5, -145. Another big factor to this, games in East Lansing. I'll be damned if they host Boston College and lose. They went to Boston last year and lost to the Eagles. I think they get their get back this season and beat Boston College in East Lansing. We go on now to our final game of the week. Yes, this video is over 3 hours long, probably about 3.5. The final game of the video, the UCLA Bruins go on the road to Las Vegas, Nevada, to Allegiant Stadium to take on the UNLV Rebels. Okay, UCLA is a 2.5-point favorite, -125 on the money line, +105 for UNLV. I am going to go with UCLA. I laughed at UCLA after losing to Utah, and I was very happy Utah beat them. If you want my full reaction and how highly I think of Utah, go to Greedo Plays Clips on TikTok. Some good content over there, okay? It's one-way traffic between Utah and UCLA, and that all starts with, well, how good Utah is. Devin Dampier is one of the best quarterbacks in college football, but also Nico. Nico throws 50% completion rate against Utah, 11 for 22, with 136 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Oh boy. At home in Pasadena, stadium's 50% full, partially because, yes, students aren't back, but at the same time, nobody shows up at those games anyway. Pasadena's about an hour away from the Los Angeles Hills, in which UCLA is at. Nobody shows up at the Rose Bowl. But UCLA gets embarrassed on their own home field. They get embarrassed. You spend all that money on Nico. By the way, he's getting less at UCLA than he did at Tennessee, but that's neither here or there. You spend all the money on the guy, and you get absolutely beat up by another transfer portal quarterback who was a junior, who was, well, same age as Nico Amaliva, but is better than Nico Amaliva, in my opinion. Way better. The guy who can do it all for you in Devin Dampier, who's going to lead Utah to win a Big 12 championship this season. You take on UNLV in Las Vegas. UNLV, Anthony Calandria, the former Virginia quarterback, he's the guy, all right? Alex Orji will come in sets. An orgy will appear on the field, and sometimes there are orgies on the football field, or one orgy on the football field. Especially last week, there was an orgy in Texas against Sam Houston. Okay, Orji showed up, got some yards. For the most part, though, the orgy is not really the concern of the defense, right? We're concerned about one-on-ones, right? Potentially a double team. Okay, I'll stop. Anthony Calandria is the starting quarterback. That's okay. Again, it's a very different offense, right? If Alex Orji is the quarterback, you're going to be primarily run and shoot like what they did with Matthew Sluka last season. Calandria, obviously more traditional. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to try to not bombing on you, but we're going to try dink and dime and take our shots if needed, right? UNLV last week goes to Sam Houston. They win the game by 17 points, 38-21. It's a game that they're in control of throughout its entirety. They go into the third quarter up 31-7, or go into the fourth quarter up 31-7 against Sam Houston. And again, we talked about Hunter Watson earlier and how kind of just mid Hunter Watson's been so far in 2025. It's a good win for UNLV. But now you go back home to take on UCLA. I don't care how bad UCLA is. I don't care how bad Nico played. And he said it himself, and I don't agree with a lot of what Nico says, just because I don't really like how he does his business and conducts himself and his whole exit from the University of Tennessee. But there's only one way to go up from here. Well, I just blew it. There's only one way to go from here. It's up. That's rock bottom, I would think. I don't know. Well, no, losing to UNLV would be even further down. Losing 43-10 at home is brutal to Utah. I would expect them to win this week, okay? I just would. I would. They have got more talent than UNLV. They do. You got Anthony Calandria at quarterback. Nico is a better quarterback than Anthony Calandria, I would hope. You know, and if they can't win this week, I'm going to be all on Nico's ass paws next week. I'm going to be on it. We will be fading UCLA for the rest of the season. This is their warning. Like, they're getting banned if they can't win this week. I just look at UNLV as a team that was competitive, so way too competitive week one against the Idaho State Bengals. You cannot be that competitive against them. You go to Sam Houston, you dominate, sure. But now you get a Big Ten school. You are the Big Ten school, UCLA. You have to show up and you have to win. I expect Nico to be better in the pass game this week. Utah, again, I think partially, yes, that's UCLA is not that great. But at the same time, guys, Utah's an elite team in college football. Utah's going to be in the playoffs. They have an elite defense and they have an elite quarterback in Devin Dampier. That's a difficult game. You're UCLA now. You get a way lesser opponent. In all fairness, you're on the road now. You're in Vegas. But a lesser opponent, I think they'll be fine. I think Nico's going to have a much better game this time around. And they just need to get the run game going as well, because Nico can't be your leading rusher as well. Your leading rusher in Javion Thomas, who obviously is a Cal transfer, won the starting job last year, or beat out eventually Jaden Knott for the starting job, had some really big games for the Cal Bears last year. He can't go 7 carries for 17 yards. But again, that's a lot of credit to how good the front line, just all-around box play is for Utah. I think UCLA is going to have a much better night against UNLV. They're only minus 125 favorites, and I expect them to go out there and do the job against the Rebels. So I'm taking UCLA to close the video at minus 125. And folks, that does it for now. Officially the longest video on the Greedo Plays channel. If you got this far, I cannot express to you how thankful I am that you watch me talk about college football for over 3.5 hours, or about 3.5 hours on a weekly basis. I cannot express to you how grateful I am that I get to go on here and do this. This is fun. I enjoy doing it. That's the reason I do it. We'll be back every single week. We still got a long way to go. We've got over 3 months. We got 3 months pretty much still of the college football year. We just started. Okay, we're going to keep going, obviously. So if you did enjoy the video, folks, all I ask is you hit that subscribe button down below and leave a like. It does the channel wonders if you do that. We'll be back next week for a week 3 slate. Don't know how long that video is going to be, but I guess we'll get there. We'll cross that bridge once we get there. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below. Join us for the best bets later in the week. Daily MLB predictions. NFL's coming out tomorrow. UFC on Greedo Plays MMA. Folks, thank y'all for watching. And Mamba forever.